You ready to roll?
Think we got enough fluff
Take
for
it
the
away.
beginning?
Yeah, I think so. Except I swore, so now I might have to edit that out.
Just add like a nice little beep over top. No, just
Beep.
edit you saying beep over top of it.
Oh, well, this really isn't for kids. It is about movies, but it ain't for kids.
But it's a brand thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. We have colors. In our logo, we have colors.
Matt, I don't think you can say that.
Actually, I do think I can say that. I don't know about you.
I
You can't say that.
got white and then just blush. That's what I got.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Whenever you're ready, buddy, take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of A Feast of Films. I'm Ethan R. Hill, and with me is...
Matt Black. What's going on, people of the internet?
We're here again to talk about movies and stuff. Again, after we've survived our first show, and now we're on to second one.
Now we're on to show number 2. Yeah, that's right. First one, we were just surprised we got it done. And now we at least have it uploaded to some places so you can find it. So I think, it's good first couple steps. We're making progress. We're making progress, buddy.
Yeah, I just got to keep remembering to actually do the show. That's the important part. I definitely forgot until you reminded me. I was like, you're like, yeah, let's record, and I'm like, wait, we have to record another one? Right, we have to record another one. Oh.
Right, that's right. These things don't just make themselves by themselves. That would be ideal.
What we could do is just program. You've seen those things where it's like, they make people watch like 10,000. They make a computer watch 10,000 episodes of something, and then they write a script.
I have not seen that.
Oh, I'll link some to you. It's hilarious. There's like one where it's like someone made a bot watch 10,000 Batman movies, and then they wrote a Batman script, and it's hilarious. There's a Hallmark one. It's like, I'll send you some links because they're definitely worth checking out. So,
yeah, having something like that would be incredibly ideal. Like, we make 1, maybe 2 episodes, then we get the computer to just take over. Except we probably sound a bit more robotic. Like, I like this movie because it is good movie. Popcorn is tasty.
Matt, you know when I say that it's great, I don't mean like it's good quality. I mean like it's a mess, but like in the best way possible. Like, so...
Well, we're a mess anyway. I mean, so it all evens out.
People will hear, they'll be like, "Oh, this sounds like those guys. This sounds exactly like them."
I don't even notice the difference.
All right, so do you want to start with the surprise question of the day, brought to you by Matt today?
Yeah, that's right. Surprise question of the day. I took this one. Usually we try to stay kind of like timeless around here with our show. But we do kind of take some of our questions, some of our topics from a bit more current news stories. So this one is from a news story, and I kind of want to get your opinion and thoughts about this. And you probably did hear about this one the other day. Maybe. So Academy Award winner for Best Adapted Screenplay, Taika Waititi, who we talked about last week. We just gushed about him last week for like a good hour probably. So it was just announced he's making a Star Wars movie. He's directing and he's co-writing with Academy Award nominated for Best Original Screenplay, the writer of 1917, Christy Wilson Cairns. So what's your thoughts on this? And what do you want to see? So that's kind of my surprise question of the day. Taika Waititi's making a Star Wars movie, writing and directing. What are your thoughts on it? And what do you want to see?
Taika Waititi makes good movies, period. Like that's it, right? He makes good movies, and we've established that much. However, with Star Wars, I'm always apprehensive because there are certain properties to me that are bigger than an individual filmmaker. And Star Wars is one of those. At the end of the day, when you make a Star Wars movie, you need to make sure you're making a Star Wars movie.
Right.
It needs to still feel like that. Like, and there's 2 criteria that in my opinion, every Star Wars movie should have, and that's that it has an opening crawl and that it starts in space.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything after those 2 is kind of fair game, as long as it's not too stylistic or over the top. I guess The Mandalorian's like the exception to that, but that's because like it's a TV show, so it's slightly different. And I think if every single episode started with a crawl, that would be mildly obnoxious. Maybe, I don't know. But also, he directed an
Clone
episode.
Wars, like Clone
I haven't
Wars,
seen
the
Clone
animated
Wars,
series,
actually.
right? Doesn't necessarily. Oh, you haven't seen any of them?
No, I watched the movie that started it all off, and everyone
Oh,
told me
yeah,
it
that was
wasn't. Everyone
terrible.
told me it wasn't great, and I was not
Yeah,
disappointed by what I was told.
It was pretty bad, but the series itself, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But at the starting of every episode, it has like the Clone Wars in yellow, and it kind of does like this far back, like it starts really close and goes back. It doesn't have this whole like list of things that are happening, but it's kind of like a mini crawl, just for the episode itself, like for the title.
No,
And then
it's
in like that
it's
light
on my list to
blue
watch too.
galaxy far, far away, it has like this little saying that comes up every episode. So it's kind of a unique and cool way to do it, and staying true to the Star Wars brand.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't...
continue on. Just want to throw that in.
Exactly. No, it's got to have that Star Wars feel. And like like Taika Waititi also did. He directed an episode of The Mandalorian, and it was a good episode. I don't remember which one it was, but like that is also a good thing because of the show, because it shows that with a TV show you need that unified feeling, right? So if you can't pick out which episodes certain directors did, that's not a bad thing because it still needs to feel like that show. So if he does that with Star Wars, and I trust that he will, like, as I said, the guy hasn't led me astray yet. I feel like it's gonna still be a really good Star Wars movie. I'm pretty sure it will. I'm apprehensive because it's Star Wars, but at the end of the day, I'm actually like, I'm low-key excited because I think he'll do a good job, and I think he'll like respect the source material. And again, like it's a series. Star Wars doesn't need to have a joke every 5 seconds, and he knows when to get serious. So I think at the end of the day, I think it'll be good. I'm confused because it says that he's just getting one, and I don't know if it's going to be a spin-off or it's just going to be an original idea, but I wouldn't mind seeing a trilogy from him if it's an original idea, because I always find the best Star Wars usually should come in threes. But that's a conversation for a different time.
Yeah, and depending what Disney wants to do, right? Like, are they going to continue on with the trilogy type thing, or are they going to just have like these kind of like one-offs, like Rogue One and Solo, and just a whole bunch of them? Like, I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I hope they do eventually get back to the trilogy format, because that's kind of like the cleanest way and the best way to like tell a story, right? Like the most classic way: 3 parts, 3 acts, 3 movies.
But I think
kind
with
of
that,
beginning,
though,
middle, and an end.
With that though, they need to have a trilogy worth of story, right? Like it can't just be, oh, we have one movie and then
they gotta
let's
plan
make
it
sequels
out,
to it. Like it's actually having that through line, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, if you made one good Star Wars film and then you're like, oh well, can we do anything more with these characters afterwards, and then build a trilogy off that? I mean, that's just what they did for Episode 4, 5, and 6. So that I'd also be fine with. Just make sure at least the first one is a complete story from beginning to end and not ending on a cliffhanger, right? Because you can do that. You can leave things resolved and open for a sequel. You don't need to necessarily have everything tied up, but you also don't need to always have a cliffhanger.
Well, you have to conclude whatever the main kind of conflict is, right?
Exactly.
Like you can have this overarching conflict that kind of goes through all 3 movies, but whatever the main conflict is of that movie or individual story that you want to tell in that chapter, you have to have a conclusion. Like that's one of the things that drive me nuts about some TV shows is like they'll end the season on like a cliffhanger where it's
and
like
then they get
you don't
canceled.
get the conclusion to that story till the beginning of the next season, and then they wrap it up real quick and start a new story, right? So that always drives me nuts. Or then they get canceled, so you never get the end. You're like, damn it, come on.
What? Why would you do this if you didn't know? If you didn't, that's actually the TV show Angel. That's what happened. Is basically they shot season 5. It ended on like, hell opened up and they were gonna fight a bunch of demons, and then they asked the studio execs for an early renewal, and the studios like, well, we can't say anything yet. And one of the guys is like, well, either say something now or like you got to give me an answer now. I can't make people wait. And the guy's like, well, if I have to answer now, then no, you're canceled. And then they canceled the show.
You're like, smooth, buddy.
It's like,
smooth. You're like, so
Okay.
I played hardball and I got my ass whooped. Cool,
It
man.
happens.
That's cool.
Gotta be willing to negotiate.
And let's be honest, when it comes to show business, nothing's ever guaranteed, right? Not a sequel to a movie, not a next season. They can always get canceled. I mean, unless you have a contract that you're guaranteed to make X amount of seasons, kind of thing. But still, if that starts to tank, like, like companies, it's about making money. It's show business, not show friends.
Yeah.
As I've heard it said multiple times, right? So so it really is. Nothing's ever guaranteed. As long as you're making money, you're okay. Usually.
I've heard it a few times where it's basically don't talk about a project or don't talk about a thing until it's been confirmed, until it's actually being worked on. Sometimes not until it's done, because you never know. Because there are projects even like
exactly.
A lot of Chris Hemsworth projects that he shot before Thor actually got shelved and didn't get released until after Thor. So like both Cabin in the Woods and Red Dawn were both movies that only got released because Thor was coming out and because his name was tied to it. Otherwise, like, they were shelved for a while. Like Red Dawn, I think, got announced, I don't even remember the years, but it was announced like about 5 years before it came out, and they had shot it and everything, and I was excited because I love the original. And sure enough, years later, just popped up, and I was excited about it, and it turned out okay. That's a whole side rant. That's a whole side. We'll get to that when we get to that.
That's a whole side rant. We'll all get to these things eventually, someday, one day.
If we keep going, like we're on 2018.
Well, man, when you have a podcast that's been ordered for 600 episodes, I mean, we got to fill it with something, right?
Are you paying?
I mean, I don't know who ordered it.
Episodes?
I don't know who ordered it, but I'm sure somebody ordered it. Second part of the question there with Taika Waititi, what would you want to see?
That's an excellent question, because like I don't like pre-speculating. That's one of the things I really am not a big fan of, just because I don't want to like get my hopes up about anything. Honestly, what I just want to see is I want to see a good Star Wars film. I don't need a lot of jokes in it. I wouldn't mind seeing him as an alien. I think he'd fit in pretty good in the Star Wars cast, as we already saw. Well, because he played IG-11 in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, he was the droid, yeah.
Honestly, like, while there were some funny moments with that droid, it wasn't Korg, and that's what I liked, is because there's Korg, IG-11, his characters in his other movies, they're all very distinct. They all have those Taika-isms to them, but it's all very...
But they're different characters.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me, he has that range, he has that idea, or he has an idea of what he's doing. I could see him popping up as a human, I could see him popping up as a different species, I could see him even just doing a cameo. Like, honestly, that's the thing. I trust him. I trust the guy, and I just want a good Star Wars film. That's all I ask for. I couldn't care less what it's about. It could have Jedi in it. It could not have Jedi in it. It could just honestly just be like 2 hours of a guy working at a store in Tatooine. Like, as long as it's good, I don't care what it's about.
I agree with you too, to a certain point when it comes down to that, right? Because when we just literally have an announcement that he's going to direct and he's going to write. We have no clue what era it's set in. We have no clue who the characters are, what the story even is going to roughly be about. So it is really hard to kind of speculate on what exactly we'd want to see for him. For me, like, just knowing that he's doing that is really exciting for me. Like we talked about last week, right? He has a very unique voice and style when it comes to his movies, when it comes to writing. He can be very funny, but all at the same time while tackling some real intense thematic issues, right? And some really dark moments. He seems to make them edible for people, so it's not like devastating, but you still feel the impact of them. I like what he brought to the finale of Mandalorian. He's the director of that one too.
Oh, was the finale he did?
So he was IG-11, and then he also directed the finale episode of the Mandalorian.
No, the finale was tight. The finale was really good.
Yeah,
like writing wise, like directing wise, everything.
He did an awesome job. Like, he didn't write it, like Jon Favreau wrote it. But yeah, he directed it. And so I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to be able to expand the Star Wars universe, right? I hope they don't go into a direction where it's like, oh, here's a Taika Waititi twist story on a Han Solo 2. Like, I don't need another repetition. Like, I like Obi-Wan. I like the idea of an Obi-Wan series because Obi-Wan's tight and everyone wants one. You know what I mean? Like everyone would love to see Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan. Like that's like the unanimous thing that I've heard when it comes to Star Wars fans. Most people want to see Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan, so I'm okay with that. But other than that, I want to see new stories. I want to see where they're going to take it. The galaxy is a huge place, and so far we've kind of been like, here's the backstory of this movie, and here's the backstory of this character. It's like we should be expanding the universe, much like The Mandalorian did, right? A whole new setting, a new area. Other than that, like one Tatooine episode, which was honestly the worst episode of the series.
I still didn't mind it.
It was pretty bad.
I still enjoyed
that
it, but,
episode made me want to jump off a bridge. I was like, this is brutal.
There was not. I don't think there was a single episode of The Mandalorian that I didn't like. Like I still like there were some that I was like, okay, that wasn't as good as the last one, but overall, like I was still happy with it.
Like sure, and I'm also talking like I'm talking like Star Wars quality, right?
That's
like
fair.
when I say it's brutal, I mean it in Star Wars quality. You know what I mean? Or even what The Mandalorian, the level of quality that show was bringing to the table. Because as soon as you have one that dips by a considerable amount lower than the others, it stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Because overall, the series was so well done. So when you have some of those weaker episodes, they really do stand out. But yeah, I would be really excited to see what he's going to bring to the universe and how he's going to expand it. He's always been that out of the box type of creator. So I think for what I'd want to see, I feel like you have to let him go outside the box, like do something completely different, try different things. Like I think it worked really well in that Mandalorian world. So like maybe bounty hunter, criminal, underworld type movie.
Yeah.
Like you got a gang of like weird characters that all come together. Something new that we haven't seen on like the big screen, right? Like we've seen the Mandalorian on the little screen, but to see it in the theaters, right? So I think important things would be like he needs a dynamic cast of characters, sharp writing, story with nice layering in it, some complexity, intense themes, and like when you're talking Taika Waititi, like there's got to be laughs, right? There's got to be laughs, like, and Star Wars does always have its own level of comedy.
Oh yeah, every episode, even
but not
not
constant, but there's still comedy, right? So there's still has to be
Han Solo
those, laughs in there as well.
Han Solo and his whole we're all fine here. How are you? Like
how are you exactly?
A boring conversation anyway.
So like Star Wars has its own brand of comedy to it itself as well.
I've come up with a change to my answer, and what I demand is I demand a shot-for-shot remake of the Star Wars Holiday Special directed by Taika Waititi.
Oh man!
Because I feel like Taika Waititi could really capture the essence of that show and make it good. I think that he really could.
Oh man!
Or a sequel to the Holiday Special with the new characters.
You're lucky. You're lucky we're not recording on a bridge right now. I'd jump off it.
Don't jump off it. Just slap me. You can just punch me next time.
Just slap me.
No.
I'm gonna punch you through this. I'm gonna punch you through the screen.
Ow.
I'll just slap myself just so it some sort of contact.
Exactly.
No, that would be bad. But I bet he could also do something like Knights of the Old Republic. Like if they wanted to go that way, like that was a pretty popular game, and HK-47's a really funny droid, and Taika Waititi could like write the humor out of that one. Like I think he could write HK-47 so wonderfully. That story has humor, it's got heart, dark gritty areas, and the big expanded universe. I think he could pull that one off too.
I don't know. He's just a guy. I think he could tackle anything, and I think he could handle it well. As long as they don't rush him into like, you have a deadline of. Well, and I'm assuming at this point they have a story. I'm assuming they didn't just announce like, "Hey, Taika, we're gonna make this movie in like a couple years. Now go." He probably already has some thoughts and ideas for it. And then again with the writing team that he has,
to have some ideas, yeah.
And it's nice to see that he has someone to write with too. Like it's. I love seeing good writing get rewarded. Like I was asked recently. I was talking to my friend about different movies and why I watch different movies, because right now we're in the middle of a couple marathons for directors, and she had said that she was surprised that I didn't watch movies based on screenwriters, and for me that's such a hard thing to do because screenwriting can get changed so much by the time that it's written by the time that it's shot and edited and released.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like the screen, like yeah, the screenwriting is really like a blueprint, right, for the movie. But once you get into the execution of it, once you get then into the editing on the other side of that as well, right? Yeah,
Well,
it can change a lot.
there's a saying that a film is written 3 times, and I mean, obviously, like it's written more than that in like pre-production because there's several drafts, but it's written with the script, then it's written when you shoot the film, and then it's finally written again when you edit the film. Because like as someone, like the few things I've made, it's very different from what we had written down, and it's very rare that from what I had written down that I see that then on set, and then I see that again in the editing room. And a lot of times I'll actually, that's why I don't like to do the first cut of a lot of my stuff. I'll pass that off to my buddy, and he'll edit it because he has a good eye for that. And then we sit down after he does that first pass. We sit down, and then I just tear apart every decision he made and be like, "No, do it my way." And it's like,
this is not what I want it to be.
People are like, "Why wouldn't people have been like, why don't you just do it yourself?" Then it's like, because I can't do it. I can't do that first pass. There's just this mental block where it's like, I look at everything and I just get sad. I'm like, this isn't what I wanted. There's no movie here. And then he could piece it together and be like, okay, well, I can kind of see what I want here.
There's no movie here.
And then eventually you trick your brain enough and you're like, oh, this is what I wanted the whole time, even though it's not. But you trick yourself into thinking that it is.
Yeah, and well, you just make it the best you can make it at the end of the day, right?
There's another rule. I'm just talking about a lot of rules today, where it's basically if you're first, I think Martin Scorsese said it, where if you're not sick the first time you watch your first cut, if you don't feel sick about it, then you're in trouble. Like, you need to feel bad about your first cut, because then you know you have something.
I know the quote you're talking about. Yeah, I think that was Martin Scorsese, if I remember correctly, and I might not remember correctly, but it sounds right. It was one of those big guys.
I can confirm that is an accurate feeling that every single time I've shot something, any time, it's just. I think I usually get up out of my chair and I'm like, well, we got nothing. We wasted our time. Good night, everybody.
Well, this is a train wreck. I'm going to bed.
I'm gonna
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
I'm gonna go and cry for the next 24 hours, and then maybe we'll see something afterwards. I don't know.
Yeah, no doubt. Ah, yeah. So that's pretty much, yeah. I guess that was my question of the day. That was good answers.
That's a good question. I liked it.
Yeah, I guess sum it up. I think this thing it's so far away. We have no details. We just know who's working on it. An Academy Award winning writer,
like it's at the end
an Academy nominated writer. So you got great writing. Yeah.
Or, yeah, I guess one winner, one nominated. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but 1917, that was no slouch movie, right? So you got some quality writing.
I still need to see that one.
But also like Lucasfilm. Yeah, I need to see 1917 too. But I heard it was really good.
But the writing is quality. I need to see.
Well, I'm not saying like from my own personal view. I'm just saying it got Academy nomination, so it must be quality,
if it got nominated for an Academy Award, it was probably really, really well written. Just guessing.
That's what I'm going off of. If it got nominated for a Razzie, I probably wouldn't be like, dude, quality writing right there.
No, amazing writing. They just didn't understand. They just didn't get
it. Yeah, they just didn't get it. But the one point I just want to add to, Lucasfilm has dropped a lot of things further along in production since Disney has taken over, or the things have fallen apart, like directors, writers leave, creative changes have happened, and like very like halfway through production, right? Like it was Lord and Miller who were supposed to be looking after Solo. Halfway through that, they got rid of them and brought on Ron Howard. Your guy. Yeah, Ron Howard, that's his name. Yeah, no, and he did. They did a good job, like, salvaging what they had, yeah.
And that's, for me, like, and that's kind of why, like, well, I don't want to get too much into it, because, like, I know we want to do an episode just on Star Wars, but, like, specifically, the reason why I liked what Ron Howard did is by the end of it, he delivered a Star Wars movie. At the end of the day, it still felt like Star Wars. And that's why I was okay with it, because I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, it's not Harrison Ford, but, like, the guy still did good, and, again, it felt like Star Wars.
And he came in really with, like, nothing. Like, that was such, like, in the middle of production, to lose your directors, to bring someone else in, and then to change and adjust the vision. halfway through. You know, like that's a lot of changes, and it's
It's
really
a lot
tough
of
to
work.
pull off. And
And
he did. The movie was pretty good despite all the things, but that wasn't the only movie,
Stacked up
right?
against it.
Lucasfilm has had a lot of issues in production since they took
'cause
over
Colin-
Star Wars with most of their movies.
Colin
Colin Trevorrow was Episode 9. Gareth Edwards on Rogue One, there was issues there. The Obi-Wan movie's been up and down, back and forth.
because I think they're doing a series now for Obi-Wan, aren't they?
What's the other one? Yeah, it was supposed to be a movie, then it was a series. Then they started production, then they shut production down because they wanted to go a new direction. I think they brought in a new writer. So, like, it's just a lot. Like, there's always a lot of things shifting. Like,
To me, at the end of the day, a lot of it too, and this goes back to my original point with this whole thing, is Star Wars is a property that's bigger than an individual filmmaker. That's where it's at, in my opinion. And I think, you know what, yeah, you can do cool and interesting things with Star Wars, but as soon as you make a movie that doesn't feel like Star Wars, then what's the point? Because then why not set it in something else? Why not make it different original stories? Like, it still has to feel like a Star Wars movie. And Mandalorian has gone to show that you can do that, because the Mandalorian feels like Star Wars, but take that Western setting and, like, crank it full. And it feels like a Western.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still Star Wars at the
But it's
core.
also Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel out of place. Like,
it doesn't feel like Star Trek. You know, it
no,
doesn't
exactly.
feel like a different property. It
and
feels
I wouldn't
like
want
Star
it to.
Wars.
And that's the thing, is like, and then me and my buddy were talking about if you ever thought they could make like a rated R Star Wars, and to me, I don't think so. I don't think that's what the property is meant for. I don't think I'd want.
Yeah, no, like overall, like in the brand. Yeah.
I don't think I'd want like Chewbacca dropping F-bombs every.
It would all just be like, "Rrrr," except they would have the subtitles like blurred out or something.
Yeah, just
the
like
little stars.
No, the stars or the different
Watch your
symbols.
Yeah.
Well, we know R2 swears, but like, you know, it's fine. He just beeps a lot. He self-censors.
So does Baby Groot. Welcome to the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Although he didn't say freaking.
Freaking. Yeah, that was classic. But yeah, so I'm excited for Taika Waititi. I'm cautiously optimistic as well, because anything can happen between now and when the movie actually comes out.
We could still be in
lockdown. As long as they make a great Star Wars movie, yeah. Honestly, who knows, man? Who knows? But yeah, no, I thought good answers there, man. Good answers.
Good question. I couldn't have a good answer without a good question. Moving on to the next segment of the day. This one is titled slightly different than last week. It's a similar thing to what you asked last week, but we're switching it up. So what did you do this week, or what did you watch this week, and how did it make you feel?
And how did it make me feel? It gave me emotions.
Did I feel things this week?
Do you want me to start, or do you want to take this one?
I'll let you start, because I might there might be I might have a breakdown halfway through my rant. So I mean, like, I'll let you lead.
Sounds good. So this week, I know last week I was saying I'm gonna do the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Didn't even start it. So that was an epic fail.
Broke your promise.
Lord of the Rings, I think that's gonna end up being a quarantine goal. Like, by the time, hopefully before I get out of here, we'll watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Well,
it just didn't happen this week.
A movie a day. That's all you. And if you have the extended editions, just a disc a day. That's a whole week. You know, you can.
That's a whole week. You can break.
You can break those movies into hour and a half to 2 hour segments, right? Because you have different discs, right?
We did watch a lot of shows, and that's all I'll talk about in a sec. It just wasn't Lord of the Rings. So one of the things I watched this week was the Aladdin remake, and it made me feel meh.
Yeah.
I thought the movie started out pretty rough. Like, it was nothing special. I think when Genie showed up, it was elevated, and Will Smith definitely brought that movie up to a better level.
But then just kind of stayed
I thought it was
at
still
that
nothing
level.
to. Yeah, like, there was still nothing really to write home about. Like, I wasn't overly excited about it. Didn't really enjoy it overly too much. I thought Jafar was not a great casting call. Like, he was not intimidating at all to me. Like, he just seemed kind of like weaselly and greasy, you know? But not like, actually
greasy
like
and
intimidating.
He was like greasy in still like a mildly attractive way. Like, it's still like he wasn't bad looking. Like,
yeah, it was strange. It was strange. Like, Jafar did not work for me at all. So Aladdin just made me feel meh. I also rewatched Rise of the Skywalker yesterday. I took my emotions out of it and just watched the movie, because the first time when I watched it, as soon as
angry.
I don't know, Are we in spoiler territory right now?
Like it's been released. Like
yeah, and it just dropped on Disney Plus, so it's out there. People can watch it.
We warned about spoilers last time too, right? So I mean,
okay, so I'm telling you right now, spoiler warnings for Rise of the Skywalker. If you just want to skip ahead a couple minutes, it'll be past that, because I'm not talking about very long. Because we'll have a whole. We've already talked about Star Wars.
We'll have a whole start.
So anyway, the first time I watched
that's just what we do right now.
That's just what we do. That's just what
we just talk about Star Wars. It's a default setting.
Except the episode we released on Star Wars Day. We didn't talk about Star Wars at all. But we also didn't know. We didn't know when we were going to release it at the time. So it was just one of those things.
If every day didn't feel like the same day, we probably would have planned it out better. But we had no clue. I had to last minute decide what Star Wars movie to watch yesterday. It was a very rushed. It was a very rushed thing.
It was a rushed process. Okay, so right now I'm telling you guys, skip ahead a couple minutes because I'm gonna get into this. So first time I watched it and I found out Rey was a Palpatine, that drove me absolutely nuts, and I couldn't even take in the last half of the movie. I was like, this is the dumbest freaking thing in the world. I'm like, this is such lazy writing. It made me so upset. Because I'm like, I expect if you're going to be Hollywood caliber writing, I expect it to be Hollywood caliber writing. You're not taking something that's like a fan theory that came out freaking when The Force Awakens was a thing. They're like, maybe she's a Palpatine. Like, God, the fact they went there drove me insane. Anyway, besides that, so I watched it again. I put my emotions to the side because I knew it was happening. So I'm like, I just accept it. And I still didn't like it that much, but I liked it slightly better than when I saw it the first time. Just barely. I still really do not like that movie. I guess if you watch it like standalone, it's not like terrible. And again, we're talking Star Wars caliber, right? So it's not as bad as like a real terrible movie. But for Star Wars, it's not a good movie as far as I'm concerned. And I know we have different opinions, and one day we'll talk about them. But not today.
I liked it.
Anyway,
I still liked it. I haven't watched it a second time though. I've only watched it in theaters. So I have to revisit it. We'll see. I still liked it. I have my reasons, and as I said, I want to kind of save that for a bigger discussion.
Yeah, and like I said, I liked it slightly more, not much, but just a little bit because I took that emotion out. Okay, spoiler done. The next show that I watched, this was a TV show, and it was actually really great. This is where I spent a lot of my week. My wife found this little show on Netflix called Kim's Convenience, and I'd never heard about it before. And have you heard about it?
Oh, I've heard about it. I've seen a couple episodes.
Okay, yeah. It's this charming little jewel of a show. Number one, it's Canadian, so there's a point right there. Win for Canada. We're winning, right? And it follows this real down-to-earth... Every once in a while, we get a win. It follows this real down-to-earth Korean family, along with a comical cast of supporting characters who own this convenience store, and they get themselves into all sorts of funny and awkward situations, and it's just such a charming little show. I don't want to give away any spoilers for this because I think it's just a show you have to watch. But like any family, they aren't perfect, and it's these key relationships or lack thereof that are the true heart of the story. And as you keep going, those moments and those relationships land some real big emotional punches as you get further into the seasons as they go. It's funny, heartfelt, warm, and Mr. Kim is going to remind you of your own father, uncle, or grandfather. At least one of those, if he doesn't remind you of you yourself. So, honestly, just a real down-to-earth... Yeah, all three rolled into one. He's so funny, and the show starts out with just one of the funniest scenes right off the bat. It just perfectly tells you who this character is. It's a really down to earth jewel of a show, and we're almost done season 3, and we just started this week, so it's great. I'm
how many episodes
absolutely
per season?
Loving it. I think they're 13, so it's not the biggest seasons.
It bums
I think
me
it's
out.
13 or 14, give or take, but it is such a good show. So good.
I miss the good old days where TV seasons were 22 episodes.
20 some episodes, yeah.
It gave you time to
Well, if they're still on TV, they're still that usually.
Not a lot lately. There's been more and more that keep cutting down. Brooklyn Nine-Nine's down to 13 episodes.
See, yeah, and I have a point about this a little bit later, but it's kind of, it's about something else. But I'm not a huge fan of filler. So like the short, like I don't mind a shorter season if it means like more precise like storytelling.
See,
and not like pointless stuff.
I love filler if it does something to further the character. If it does something to develop that.
But then it's not filler.
Arguably it is though. Arguably, because a filler can be like,
arguably
especially
it's not.
If you look at shows like X-Files or Supernatural and stuff like that, because they're Monsters of the Week show, a lot of times there's still that overarching thing throughout the season. But they still kind of have one-off episodes per thing where it's a different villain of the week kind of thing. However, when they just do something that has nothing to do with that main arc, sometimes those are the best episodes, and they're filler episodes. They don't really have anything. Then there's bad filler where like Goku and Piccolo get their driver's license in Dragon Ball Z. That's
exactly what popped into my head.
That's bad filler though. That's bad. There's good filler and there's bad filler, and that is an example of bad filler.
Like, it depends on your definition of filler. Like for me, filler is if you're not advancing like growing the character or advancing the plot or some other different element. Because I think you can have key episodes that aren't necessarily advancing the overall storyline, but maybe digging deeper into a character. I just find filler like just unnecessary, right? Like so if you're digging into a character, I guess, but it's like you're digging into him for an unnecessary reason and it's never really gonna pay off. Like if you have some kind of background story on a character, but it doesn't matter at all going forward, I'm like, well, that's a waste of time. That's a waste. That to me, that's filler. So I guess maybe I'm talking about bad filler, but even what you use as good filler, I still consider that, important or kind of key to the series or episode.
Do you watch much Supernatural at all, or not really?
I used to. I haven't actually watched it for a while. I should really get back into that.
So
they do have a lot of different types of filler in there too.
So I've watched a lot, and then I watched basically everything, and then I think I fell off around season 12. But in season 13, I think it is, they have a Scooby-Doo crossover where like
I heard about that. I haven't seen it.
It is amazing. It is hilarious. It is fantastic. They're in a Scooby-Doo episode for most of the show, and it is so well handled. As a fan of Scooby-Doo and as a fan of Supernatural, it's amazing. Doesn't further the plot or anything, doesn't really change anything with the characters, because let's be honest, at season 13, there's not really much more you can do to change the characters.
yeah. You've probably gone far enough, yeah.
But honestly, like, it is so good, and that's an example of great filler, because, like, it's not necessary to anything, but it was just, it needed to exist, and I'm so happy it does. If you already know the characters, man, I could even say, like, you can just hop on Amazon Prime and just skip to that episode and watch it, and you won't feel like you're missing anything. It's just, it's worth the watch.
It's gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those are kind of, like, unique episodes, though. Kind of like, see, and I don't even know if they're filler, because they are, like, so unique and so different. Does it necessarily... I guess maybe if you're looking at the overall story, sure, that counts as filler. But because it's so unique... I don't know. Yeah.
I guess it comes down to your
definition of good filler. Yeah.
Your personal definition of filler. And at the end of the day, I think we can all agree bad filler is bad.
Bad filler is bad. I mean, if it doesn't add value to me, it's filler. If there is certain value, even entertainment value, then I'm like, well, not filler.
Well, that's where...
Especially unique things like the Scooby-Doo thing, because I think that's like kind of, those are usually like one-offs, and they're pretty great.
Not to jump back to Star Wars and The Mandalorian, I'm kind of excited to rewatch it, because like I'm gonna watch the episodes you didn't care for too much, and I'm gonna find something to convince you that they're actually worthwhile. I'm gonna find at least one thing. I don't know what.
Like I'm not saying they're like the worst things made in television.
Oh, I know.
But I'm saying like episode 5 and I think it was even episode 6 were filler. I like 6 better because it had some really cool moments.
But that's where I'm gonna try and find something to prove to you and to change your perspective on things and see it in a different way. I'm determined. I might fail, but that's my goal. I don't know when. Maybe by the Star Wars episode.
I don't know when. I don't know how.
So so that's what made you feel. Was there anything else you watched this week or did this week that made you feel?
No, those were like no. I mean, I also stared at a wall for like a good 3 hours. It made me feel a little sad. But other than that, no, that was it.
Oh, did you have paint drying on that wall?
No, it was just a wall.
No, that's it. paint a bit, watch it dry. Then you'd be a bit more excited. You feel less sad.
Except we'd probably seeing we're all stuck inside. It'd probably just get like high off the fumes. It wouldn't be good.
Dude, why do you think you'd be fine? You'd be good then because wow, this was amazing.
Like, there's a method to my madness. There's a method.
It's paint fumes. It's always paint fumes. That's the method.
That is the key. But yeah, that's all I watched this week, man. What about you? What'd you watch this week? How did it make you feel?
So
tell us about your feelings.
I'm gonna save the big doozy feeling for the last bit because I'd rather not rant for too long about it. But so we started our Steven Spielberg John Carpenter marathon. We got up to Jaws last night, and Jaws is just a perfect movie. It is amazing. It is just so good, like through and through. So we're bouncing back and forth between. I can't remember which one we started with because we went Duel, then Dark Star, Sugarland Express, Assault on Precinct 13, then Jaws. Yeah, so we started with Spielberg, and we've been going back and forth. Have you watched many John Carpenter films or not really?
Not too much, no.
Have you seen like Big Trouble in Little China?
No.
Escape from New York?
Nope.
The Thing?
I know there's like some classics that I have to watch and I have not.
Like you do. Like I highly recommend it. He's a very. As time has gone on, he's a lot more appreciated than what he was back in the day. But like
at the time, yeah,
he's made some classic films, and I just absolutely love them. And then Spielberg is just Spielberg. You don't really need to say too much about him. Like
he's the GOAT.
His movies just make me happy. And I said like we got to Jaws, and we've hit that stride of like there was the first couple rough ones where like they're starting out. You can tell that they're learning film, or they both of them had a really good handle of film from the get-go, but they're still not as polished as their later stuff. But like
for sure,
it's been really interesting, and I can talk more about this by the time we finish this marathon. But like just watching it, getting 3 films in each, basically, it's so fascinating to see these journeys of these filmmakers, and I just love it, and it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy, mildly discouraged, because it's like, wow, they were just really good at filmmaking from the get-go. Crap. I have big aspirations and a lot of work to do, I guess. But no, it's been good, and it's been a good kind of refreshing thing, and it's so nice bouncing between the two because it kind of breaks up the types of movies you're watching because they're so distinct and so different.
Yeah.
So there's been that.
Well, Spielberg's also that kind of guy too, where he can really do like so many different types of genres, and like they still feel uniquely Spielberg, but he still can. Like you can't put that guy in a genre that he's not gonna do well in. Like he'll make it good. He'll make it good.
He's another one of those people who
make it a good.
He knows what a good movie is. He knows what's gonna suit the story the best, and it's he's honestly one of my favorite filmmakers.
Greatest of all time.
We also watched New Hope yesterday because Star Wars Day, and the movie still holds up even with the added CG and all that kind of stuff. But
God, I hate okay. The worst added CG in that whole trilogy has to be in Return of the Jedi in Jabba's palace. Like when that stupid thing is singing, like I absolutely hate it.
Like Jedi Rocks, the classic song that my roommate also hates, and I'll just like play for him randomly. If I want to get under his skin, I'll just be like, "Hey man, you should check out this song," and I'll start playing the song because I have it like on part of like it was part of like the CD collection of like the soundtrack, so I have it on my computer, and I'll just start playing it. And he just dies every time, and it is so it's worth
it. I'm like, God, that's the worst CGI ever, and that guy's like, I mean, like zooms in on his little thing,
honestly, I would actually say edition. I'd say like that CG, while like it's awkward and weird, I will say that the CG creatures added to episode 4 is technically worse CG.
It doesn't bug me anywhere near as much.
I think it's the scene that bugs you, Matt. I think it's the scene.
Well, because the scene that didn't have it was fine when they were just playing music in the background. Then they add this bull crap song in there and throw these CGI characters, and then it's like, this is terrible. Terrible. Anyway, that's my opinion on it, though.
Yeah, that's it. Once again, we keep going back to Star Wars, and this is hilarious. So I'm gonna try and let's take it away from Star Wars.
Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep moving forward.
I'm gonna share with you the thing that made me feel the most, and it's really unexpected. I didn't expect to feel how I felt about this, but we did what I said we were gonna do last week, and we watched Gremlins 2.
Nice.
And have you seen Gremlins 2, Matt?
I have seen all the Gremlins. I was a huge Gremlins fan when I was younger. I loved them. I thought they were hilarious.
So Gremlins 2.
So funny.
I don't disagree with you, but also I have never ever loved and hated a movie at the same time. Like ever.
Yes.
Like there are movies where it's like a roller coaster where it's like, oh man, I love this moment, hate this moment. Every bit of this movie was just this inner battle with me where it's like, this is awful and I hate this, but like at the same time, because it's awful, I love it, and like it's works so and good. It shouldn't work, and it's like every 5 minutes I just like had a meltdown, and it was just like, wait, what's going on? No, that doesn't make sense, but oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. And like I still don't know how I feel about this movie, Matt. I haven't been able to process my feelings, and it's been a week. It has been a week. And like,
you might need therapy.
I want to have an opinion on it, but I can't, because like, it was just so good, but it was so bad. It shouldn't have existed. Do you know that movie had a $50 million budget? They just threw. I did not know that. They just threw money at Joe Dante and said, "Hey man, do what you want." Apparently, my roommate looked into the story behind it.
Make it bigger and badder.
He didn't want to do the sequel, so I think they said like, hey, we'll give you any amount of money that you want, and you can do whatever you want with it. Just please make the sequel. So he did, and they just went off the rails, and it's amazing. It's so amazing, but I hated it, because how does this happen? How does this was approved. This was approved by several people. It was written, it was edited, it was shot. The studio sat down and said, hey, this is a good idea, let's release it. How and what? I can't, like, it's so hard to talk about it without, like, because the thing is, if we started to just talk about the things that are in that movie, if you haven't seen the movie, you're not gonna believe that those were in there. I had never actually heard anything about Gremlins other than it took place in an office building. Like, Gremlins 2 in an office building, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
I had the first movie, I just kind of had, like, a moderate reaction to. I'm like, yeah, it's a good movie, it's not my favorite, I just liked it. And then this one just took that reaction and just, like, cranked the dial in both directions. And, like, I didn't know what to...
Just really tore it, Jay.
Look, I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't that. That wasn't even on my radar. That wasn't even anywhere close to what I would have thought would have been in a Gremlins movie. And, like, it wrecked me. It ruined me, but, like, in a good way and a terrible way at the same time. Like, it's been a week. It's been a week, and I still don't know what I think about it or how I feel, other than I feel everything. I want to laugh.
That's the beautiful... You summed it up. Like, that's the best part of Gremlins 2. Like, it's so ridiculous. And there's things in it that are, like, so bad, but yet it's so good. Like, it still just works.
It shouldn't work. By all accounts and purposes, it should not work. It should not be a movie that exists, but it does, and that makes me so happy and so angry at the same time. And you can tell that all the actors just had a hoot on it. Everyone involved with it just had as much fun as they could. Because, like, that's the best way to describe it, is, like, at the end of the day, it's a fun movie. It's ridiculous and makes zero sense, and it's... I don't know, man. I don't know. I just... Thinking about it just give me
a lot of fun.
I'm just getting flashbacks now of just the movie, and it's...
everyone just had you can tell everyone had a great time working on it. great time writing it. Like, it wasn't a thing that was like, we're here, guys, to make the most artistic and best movie ever. Everyone be incredibly serious about this movie. No, they all just jumped in it, had a great time, had fun. They knew what they were making was incredibly absurd, was like, incredibly ridiculous, but they're like, let's do it anyway, because hell yeah!
Like, Phoebe Cates starts doing her monologue about why she hates Lincoln's birthday or something like that to make fun of her monologue in the first movie about Christmas. Leonard Maltin is reviewing the Gremlins 1 movie in Gremlins 2, and then he's attacked by Gremlins, and, like, so does that mean the Gremlins movie exists in the Gremlins 2 universe? Are they separate universes? Is this a different movie? What's going on? And it's like that for the entire movie. And then, but on top of it, too, though, the animatronics and the green screen are amazing. Gizmo looks so good in this movie, and the Gremlins look so good in this movie, and, like, it's so... if anyone who's listening to this hasn't watched Gremlins 2, stop what you're doing right now and go watch Gremlins 2. And hopefully you can understand...
finish the podcast, then go watch it.
No, they can stop the podcast. Stop the podcast right now, go watch Gremlins 2, come back and finish this, and hopefully...
We're supposed to be promoting our podcast, not Gremlins.
This is what Gremlins 2 made me feel, Matt!
Forget what we're doing, guys. Turn it off.
This is not important.
You guys need to get your priorities right. This podcast is junk. Go watch Gremlins.
Like,
if you made this far, you're probably committed.
I just want people to understand what I feel, man. I just need them to know. Because, like, again, and normally, like, I like movies that are bad. I like movies that are good. And this one was both at the same time. And I just don't know how to feel about it, man. I'm going to cry. I'm just going to cry. Out of laughter.
You can't see him right now, but he literally looks like he's gonna cry.
Oh, it just I've never had a movie make me feel the way that Gremlins 2 has. So this is a whole new experience for me. Like, this is just I've never felt two emotions at the same time, and it's just so polar opposite and conflicting that it hurts, but also, like, it's relieving, and I don't know. I feel like I've said what I need to say. It can only make
you better, buddy. If it doesn't kill you, it'll only make you better.
Or it's gonna be what kills me. It's just it was Gremlins
like, I may
2 all along.
I may just die.
Cause of death, and someone holds up a copy of the movie that's just beside me. Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2. The Gremlins got him.
If Gremlins 2 kills me, all I ask is avenge me and destroy every copy of Gremlins 2. Or make everyone else watch it. Maybe then...
That's probably more reasonable, yeah. I'll just start a thing. Everyone watch this movie.
That's how you introduce yourself to people. It's like, have you seen Gremlins 2?
They're like, hi, I'm Steve. Hi, have you seen Gremlins 2?
If not, I have it here with me, queued up on my computer. Please watch this movie.
Matt, this is a meeting? Yeah, I know, but Gremlins 2, guys. He hasn't seen it. We should watch it right now.
Look, Gremlins 2 killed my friend, and I need people to know.
There are movies that are just like that, right? Like, they're so terrible, but yeah, it's so good, and it's just like...
But, like, that's the thing.
How do you feel about a movie? It's hard to know. Like, all the knowledge that you have about, like, creating movies and the artwork of film, you're like, this goes against everything. But then, yet, when you watch it and consume it, your heart tells you, this works. I love it. It is so great. But your brain is like, this is all wrong. It's so wrong.
That's it's like... But the thing is, the movie, it works. It works because, like, the effects are good, the acting is good, the story is good. All of it works, but all of it doesn't work. And there's no clear answer, and I want there to be a clear answer.
Some things just don't have an answer.
Should we move on before I give myself a heart attack?
Probably. I would like to talk about all our other movies and stuff we have to talk about before you die. At least let's make it to episode 3 before you, like...
Well, as long as we don't talk about Gremlins 2,
just so distressed.
On top of it all, I'm wearing Gremlins socks today, too, and that was definitely not planned. As much as that probably doesn't seem like a thing. But it's... I like Gremlins well enough. I like them. It's just... That movie, man. That movie. How did it happen? but like also
it's a ride you can't survive.
So that's how it made me feel. It made me feel everything, and that's been my week. Oh, I have a headache now. I actually have a headache. I'm looking at myself in the camera. I'm beet red. I'm just like I'm just.
Nothing that I watched this week made me feel any way remotely close to you. All my feelings are pretty clear.
And that was early on in the week too. I think we watched that on Tuesday or Wednesday night. Like this is. It's been a full week, and I'm still. I was worried I wouldn't be able to recapture those feelings, but I guess I did. I just started thinking about it, and something snapped. So anyway, Matt. So 20 years, 20 movies. How's it go?
20 years, 20 movies. Our next segment. Yeah.
All right.
Do you need a sec, or should I kick this one off, or do you want to start with your best movie this time?
I'll let you go. I'm just gonna breathe for a second, and maybe
you're just gonna breathe.
Drink my coffee and my water, and hope for the best.
Sounds good, buddy. Sounds good.
So what was your top movie? And we go top movies and then bottom movies,
and then
right?
worst. Yeah. You betcha.
Okay, so what was your top movie of 2018, Matt? What was your favorite one? And should I make a guess that it's Infinity War, or should I just leave?
It's actually not Infinity War. Believe it or not, my 2018 best movie is not Infinity War. Infinity War is in my honorable mentions, though.
Okay.
It definitely is. I definitely added it in there. So I guess we'll kind of touch upon it as we get going. But no, my favorite movie of 2018, and I gotta say, 2018 had a lot of great movies in it as well.
I know.
And I added those to my I gotta watch list because... For real, it's funny when you miss a movie, you kind of forget about it. Like as time moves on,
yep.
And as I'm going back and like looking through the years, I'm like, damn, I still gotta watch all these movies.
I still have a bunch I need to watch too. I'm in the same boat.
So many. So I'm really excited to go back and watch them. So 2018 was also a great year for movies. Not as good as 2019, but 2018 was also very good. But my best movie of 2018, A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Quiet Place.
I can dig it.
And this, have you seen A Quiet Place?
Oh yeah, I know. I saw it. I really like. I've seen it twice.
You've seen it? Okay.
I've seen it 2 times.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I watched it 3 times in one day. And it's short enough. You can watch it quite a bit if you want to. So when it comes to A Quiet Place, this was such a surprise movie for me. Such a surprise. I like the cast director, John Krasinski, obviously like from Office fame, amazing. But I figured, like, just from kind of the trailers and watching it, I'm like, this is probably going to be, like, an average monster flick kind of thing. John Krasinski wasn't, like, his A status as he is, like, today. He was still, like, the guy from The Office, but he wasn't everywhere like he is today. Like, he's doing really well, and this movie is one of the reasons why. But I was very wrong. I thought it was going to be average. I was very wrong. I didn't even get to see this in theaters. I didn't get to see it in theaters. I watched it at home, and I still loved it.
That's the thing. I didn't either. I saw it at home too, and it worked almost. To me, it almost worked better. Like I can't compare the two because I didn't see it in theaters, but like, I'm glad I didn't see it in theaters. I'm glad I waited until I was at home because like.
See, I wish I saw it in theaters because then like that experience of silenceness maybe would have been more. Maybe it would have been less people eating popcorn. I don't know. It's hard to know exactly because again, I didn't see it in theaters. But this is probably the first time for me that like one of my. Like, especially recently, I guess, that one of my favorite movies wasn't a movie I saw in theaters. Like, it was one that I just watched later on at home. But yeah, this movie was such a surprise. Like, my expectations going in were, like, pretty average or, you know, low to average. But this movie, like, just blew them out of the water. I was so impressed. 3 things that really elevated this movie for me was the use of sound and tension. Yep. The tight story, and at the heart, family, right? At the heart of this movie, family. So let me just touch on the first point, sound and tension. I never found the movie scary. Like, it wasn't like a classic horror movie where I sit there like, oh my god, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I get scared in, like, demon movies and ghosts and shit. I'm like, oh man, I can't look. I'm gonna jump out. Those Paranormal Activities, man. Me and my buddy Chris and Ethan, when we lived together, we went to go see the very first Paranormal Activity. And this, we went to go see in the theater with everyone. And, like, man, we were just, like, scared shitless after that. Like, we went home. We had to, like, take some shots. We're like, god damn, man, that movie was freaky as hell. And that was before like the others came out and like kind of polluted or diluted the mixture. That was the very first one, so it was like, you know, it was very, it was pretty scary at the first point. But anyway,
I remember watching. I remember watching the first one at your house
in the
actually,
basement
when it came out on DVD.
Yeah, when it came out, yeah.
And
we had like a bunch of the guys over, yeah.
It freaked me out. Like, no, it's the same. I had to leave. I think I left the room halfway through it. I'm just like, nope, Ouija board scene. I was gone. I'm just.
You're like, see you later.
Look, I know it's special effects, but nope. Nope.
I can't do it. Yeah, and we watched in the theater. Like, the theme of the theater is you can't just run away. There's no blankets to hide under or something. You know what I mean? Like, you just gotta sit there while it happens to you.
You are exposed.
Anyway, there's nowhere to run. But anyway, I'm not talking about Paranormal Activity right now. This movie was not scary. Let me just put it out that way. This movie was not scary, but its use of tension in the movie was absolutely masterful. Sound has always played a big part in creating tension in horror movies, whether it's like that silence just before you like come up to like the jump scare. And usually it's kind of like a cheap jump scare, right? But they use sound a lot. Yeah. But in this movie, how they use sound to create tension, or the lack of sound in, you know, most of the film, it just made all that movie just all the more intense, especially when you had extreme situations like childbirth. Like, literally his wife was giving childbirth and there's an alien outside in the hallway, right? And she can't make a sound. I was like, that scene was so well acted. Now I'm blanking on her name.
I don't know how she got out of that, but like Emily Blunt.
I am blanking on her name. What's the actress's name?
It's Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt. Yeah, thank you. I'm like, I just need the first name because it's his wife. Yeah, it's his actual wife in real life. She, like, you know, she did such a phenomenal job acting. John Krasinski did a phenomenal job. The kids were great. Even their daughter, who, like, the actress is actually deaf. So they actually had someone who's deaf play, like, his daughter, who's deaf also in the film. She did a great job. Like, that movie, the acting was really well done. But the way, again, this film utilizes sound and tension. And like I said, in horror movies, usually they use it just before a jump scare. In this movie, they utilize it all the time because you can't make noise. The aliens, as soon as you make noise, they're all over you. Someone's going to die. Right? So the whole time you have this underlying level of tension for the whole movie. And it's not just for a jump scare, but it's used to bring the audience right into that world. Like, you're part of the world now. And it just really brings you and grounds you into the film and creates just that level of tension. And in those intense moments like childbirth, or, you know, where there is noise, that tension spikes. But there's always that underlying tension throughout the whole movie. And I was like, man, that's so masterfully done. So well done.
It almost gets to a point where you, as the audience member, you don't want to make noise watching this movie.
And that's exactly it, yeah.
There's that, as yet, it's that built-in tension. It's from the get-go. It's like, wait, they're not talking. They're not making any noise. And then, like, they set up what happens when noise gets made, like, really early on. And it's like, oh, no, you... Can you do that? Can you do...
Exactly.
No.
And I don't want to spoil that moment either. But yeah, and it like 100%. It draws you right in. You're part of the world as an audience member, and you're in it with them, right? So, like, it was masterful how they used it, and the concept and the idea behind it. I read an interview, too, with John Krasinski, who's saying, like, the crew, when they were like filming it, they were like, oh yeah, he's just gonna remove the audio after. So they were like all talking and stuff while filming, and he's like, you guys shut up. Like, we're not taking away the audio, like, it just has to be that quiet kind of thing, right? Like, We're not making a silent film, we're not just cutting out the audio. Like, this is, you know, it's about this silence. And it was a really different way, I guess, for them to also film it too, because they're used to communicating and talking a bit more often, I guess. So, but yeah, no, the use of sound and tension in this movie was fantastic. It's one of the reasons that this was my movie of the year. Next point was the tight story. I appreciate a tight story. Like we said, I hate filler. I hate useless shit in movies. It drives me nuts. And this movie is 100% all beef, man. There is no filler in this one. It is 100% all beef. It has a 90-minute runtime, so it's pretty short compared to most theatrical movies, which leaves, again, no time really for that useless stuff. Like, and it's got to stick to it and keep moving and keep moving. Every scene has a purpose. Every moment is an important piece of the story, whether it's about the world, character relationships, or advancing the plot. And oftentimes, most of the time, every scene is kind of a mixture of those three, right? It's never usually just one or the other. Yeah. It's always a combination of those three, which really elevates the scenes themselves. Remove any scene from that movie, and I think you'd be missing out. Like, that's how much I love every scene in that movie. If you take out a scene, you're going to be missing out. Again, whether it's character development or something, a plot.
I'm curious to see if any of the things they kind of... Again, I don't want to talk about the plot too much, but, like, I'm curious if there's anything that they introduced or showed in the first movie that's going to come back in the second one. Like, specifically...
I would imagine so.
Like, the river stuff I really, really liked. I really enjoyed those moments. The river and the waterfall, I thought that was...
Yeah, like the moment with his son, right?
Yeah,
that was such a cool,
so good.
Special moment. And like even like, and again without spoiling anything, like there's the scene in the forest with the old man, right? But that literally is the callback to what happens later on in the movie. So it's like you take that out, and it definitely changes it, right? So again, like John Krasinski utilized every scene in this movie to make it impactful, and it was a tight story. So I can appreciate that. I probably would have liked to stay in the world a little longer, but that's only because it was done so well. And if it was longer, maybe it would have ruined that.
Well, hey, you're getting a sequel, man.
Yeah, whenever it comes out, like after we all get out again from quarantine.
Right now, outside is the quiet place.
Exactly. Hopefully, yeah. But yeah, man, I praise John Krasinski for having the self-control to make this movie the perfect length for this film that he was making. I'm sure they left a lot on the cutting room floor, right? Like, and that's the hard part as a director, editor, writer, whatever. If you're kind of, looking after the whole thing. Editing's such a hard part, right? Because there's scenes you really love and that you want to be in the movie. But, like, once you put it together, you realize it's not really that important. Or, you can convey the information in a different scene, or it kind of doubles up on info. Regardless, There's a lot of things people leave on the cutting room floor, and I'm sure John left a bunch of stuff from this movie. Because, again, it's only 90 minutes. It's not that long.
That is actually the tight, preferred
and I loved
audience time. 90 minutes is the preferred audience time for movies nowadays. Studios like the 2-hour mark, although they don't like reading 2-hour-long scripts, but they like the 2-hour mark for film, and a lot of professionals love the 2-hour mark, but audiences prefer an hour and a half, which I honestly say anywhere between those two. I find anything shorter than an hour and a half is like noticeably shorter, and anything... Yeah. I mean, an hour 20 is actually pretty good too, especially for like horror movies. I find like a lot of horror slasher kind of movies, they don't need to be longer than an hour 20.
Right.
And then like honestly, like we said last week, where Endgame was 3 hours long, but you didn't feel it. Like
exactly.
That's two A Quiet Places. That's two A Quiet Place viewings.
That's it. That's exactly it. You could watch A Quiet Place twice in the time it takes to watch one Avengers Endgame. And again, like timing all depends on what type of movie you're making. Like if A Quiet Place was 3 hours, you'd be like, well, what the hell are we filling it with, right? And that's where filler really comes in and plays a part, because then you just got like random things happening just to make up time. Like if they're trying to hit 2 hours but their story isn't really for 2 hours, then yeah, you're gonna get a ton of filler, ton of useless scenes, and it's ultimately gonna hurt the movie in the end, right?
No, exactly.
So, like, for this movie, though, it didn't need anything more. Like, every moment was used. Every scene was utilized. It was important. You grew with the characters. The story moved forward. You got to understand a bit more about the world. Like, every scene had a purpose. So, I just thought, yeah, the tight story, what they did there, was really well done. And then my third point, I'm only doing 3. I don't want to do, like, 6 like Avengers Endgame. I've limited myself to 3. At the risk of sound like a broken record today, though, what really makes the movie is the family at the center. I know I talked about this at Kim's Convenience, but I'm like, I think family's just clearly important to me right now. It's just ringing a chord. It's just it's just touching that chord there for me.
Matt, do you have a family? Is that why these are important?
It's almost like you have a family, and we all have families for the most part, right?
Like,
it's just different roles that we all play in our families.
Again, it's we touched on it last time. It's that you have where you're the head of your family. I'm still just a child to my family. I'm just one of the kids. Hey man, I'm just. It's fine.
I would say, yeah. I don't know. Being the head of the family sounds like a lot of responsibility. I think I'm just gonna let my wife do it. I'll just make podcast with you.
You're the support system of the family.
We're the co-heads of the family. We're co-heads.
Exactly.
Equal.
But that's how it should be. Just like the family in A Quiet Place, and we brought it back around.
And nice segue. And segue. Anyway, so for the majority of the movie, we are following this family after they suffer after they suffer an absolutely devastating event. Well, they did supper later in the movie, but at the beginning they suffer that absolutely devastating event that we talked about, right?
That we don't want to talk about. And that had a
real But that had a real damaging effect on the relationships that they all had with each other. Like, this is a damaged family at this point, for the most part, that we're following them. And the thing I love about this movie is, like, while it is a quiet place and there are monsters and aliens and whatever, this movie isn't about the monsters and the sound. Like, that's just all the backdrop. Like, A Quiet Place is really about this damaged family moving beyond guilt, pain, loss, to be able to love, to be able to heal, and to discover what they're willing to sacrifice for the ones they love most. And, and just realizing that no matter what happens, they're always going to love each other. Like, it's about love. It's about this family and their journey. And it's not about the monsters. It's not about all those things. Those are kind of part of the world they're living in. But at the core of the story, what gives it its heart, what makes it such a good movie and so impactful, is the relationship, the journey of this family. And I gotta say, the father-daughter relationship is gonna hit you right in the feels. Whether you're a parent or not, that father-daughter relationship is even in the heart of that whole family, core. So, man, I'm talking about, it's giving me goosebumps. You can't see it right now. I mean, Ethan maybe can.
I think we know what.
I don't know. He just sees a brown arm.
I see a lot of hair, Matt. There's a lot of hair.
Yeah. But definitely you guys listening can't see it, obviously. But just talking about it, it's giving me goosebumps. Like, it's just, yeah. So one of the reasons, again, this is one of the best movies of 2018. The family revisit it today. At the core, the story. Honestly, I might. It's only an hour and a half, man. It's only an hour and a half. But yeah, I thought Quiet Place was just gonna be another small, not so great monster movie, but damn, I was wrong. I was wrong, son. The use of sound to create tension that draws you right into the world, the tight, no filter storytelling, and the journey of this damaged family at the heart of the movie makes A Quiet Place my best film of 2018. Boom, mic drop.
Honestly, too, like,
because that's what
Mike sounded like. Like everything you said. But also, I just got to give it especially the creature design too. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
The creature design was amazing. I loved the way they look. I don't think they showed too much. I don't think they hid too much in the shadows. It was a perfect execution of a creature film, and just the design was terrifying, but also so cool. And
the concept, about, right? Like the whole concept behind them was great.
Well, when you think about, like, even the anatomy of the creature and everything like that, like, so much thought was put into it that it was just unreal. It was really, really, really good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's for me. Best movie 2018. Honorable mentions. See, there's so many good movies in 2018. Like, even this was a hard, like, choice to make. Honorable mentions: Bohemian Rhapsody, Black Panther, Black Klansman, A Star Is Born. And then I put Infinity War in there as well, just because Infinity War, like, again, as an individual movie, I think Infinity War definitely suffers from, like, having so many characters. It almost buckles under the weight of everything that it has to kind of carry. And as an individual movie, maybe you'd be like, it's not the best movie ever, but, like, again, you got 10 years of storytelling leading up to it. So Infinity War is an honorable mention. But yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody, Black Panther, Black Klansman, Star is Born. Those are all great movies as well.
I have seen Black Panther out of that list. I haven't seen any of the other ones.
You should watch them.
Black Klansman has been on my list since the trailer. Like, as soon as the trailer dropped, I'm like, I gotta watch this movie, and I just haven't yet. And
I think it's what John David Washington and
Adam Driver.
And Adam Driver, yeah. John David Washington's actually oh my gosh, I'm having a terrible name day with names, and they're not even hard names. You should know it. Denzel Washington's son, actually.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that till later on. I'm like, they don't really look alike other than they're black.
I can kind of see it a bit.
But when you realize it, and he's got the beard in that movie too, I think. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, kind of hard.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
But yeah, they're actually father and son.
Bohemian Rhapsody is one that I've just always known I'd like, so I haven't watched it, and that sounds like such a weird concept. But if I know if I know I'm gonna like a movie, and I don't really feel like it's gonna be something that's spoiled for me or anything like that, I'm cool waiting for it. Like, I just watched Rocket Man a little while ago because I knew I'd like that one, and I didn't see it in theaters. So then it came on Amazon. I'm like, oh, fine, I'll finally watch it, and I liked it. I wasn't surprised.
Oh, that's one I still gotta watch too. Rocket Man.
It's solid. It was more of a musical than I thought it would be, but
yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah,
but Bohemian Rhapsody has been on my list for a very long, again, since it was announced, and I just haven't watched it for no reason. It's not that I've avoided it. I haven't actively tried to not watch it. I just haven't seen it, and it's just, it happens. It happens to me a lot, man.
Yeah, well, you should see my 2019 list.
All right, no, it's the same for me.
Know. It just happens. Time moves on, right? And new movies come out.
It's movies are important, but at the same time, I think your choice of movies is also important. It's not always about watching the newest, best thing. For me and you, I think we're both people who, obviously, we revisit movies. We watch movies over and over again. And I've met people who, they tell me they can only watch a movie once, and I don't understand that, but I can get where other people are coming from, because you want to see as much as you can. But for me, it's if I like a movie well enough, I'm gonna come back to it. Yeah, I'm gonna revisit this 20 billion times. Even watching Jaws last night. Yeah, we're watching it, and you've seen Jaws, or
a long time ago. I haven't rewatched it recently.
So there's the scene where
it was quite a while ago.
Do you remember that comparing scars scene where they're like, look at this scar here and that scar?
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're comparing scars, and during that scene, Chief Brody lifts up his shirt to reveal just a little scar on his body, but he doesn't address it at all, and he just kind of looks at it and puts it down. It looks like a bullet wound, and I'd never picked up on that, and I don't think my roommate did either. We were both watching, we're like, wait, is that that's a scar? That's him, and he didn't say anything. Holy crap, is that why he's on the island? Did he get shot back in New York, and then this is why he's here? And we've been watching this movie for years, and we just picked up on it. And that's why I love revisiting movies, because you might find something that you might find something new. Even Lord of the Rings, every time I watch that, there's always something new I pick up on. Back to the Future, same thing.
Yeah. Those subtle little things that are hidden in there.
And that's the beauty of movies, man. That's why it's rewatchability is a big important part. If I watch a movie and feel like I don't need to see it again, then normally it's a movie that I feel pretty okay about. I feel mediocre. It's okay, I saw it, good enough for me. But if there's a movie
moving on,
if there's a movie where it's no, I gotta watch it again. Exorcist is another one for me. I've watched that movie so much in the last few years. It's so well done and so good. That's a whole
so
other
creepy. So creepy,
dude. That's a whole other conversation that we could have. Then probably should not just jump onto that right now when we're talking about movies in 2018.
For sure. All right, so let's keep let's keep rolling along. Your movie, right?
Yes. So this was a hard one for me.
2018. Yeah.
This was a hard one for me because there was a lot of really good ones, but there were two really, really, really good ones for me. The top pick for me, it took me a while. I'm still bouncing back and forth, and that's why.
Even in this moment,
I'm bouncing back and forth. But I know in my heart of hearts, the answer for me is Ready Player One. I loved that movie. It just hit me in all the right places. It's predictable. It is. It's a very standard young adult story. But it's so good. It's so good. It's everything. The best way I can describe it and why I love it is it's everything I love about movies in one movie. And it's not just the references or anything like that. It's the characters. It's the story. It's the feeling of it. The soundtrack is one of the greatest movie soundtracks I have ever listened to. When they first just released the main theme, me and two of my buddies were sitting down. We were listening to it. And the only thing we could come up with to describe how the soundtrack sounded, we're like, it sounds like a movie. This soundtrack sounds like a movie. And that sounds like such a weird statement to say about a movie soundtrack, because that's how it should. But, like, especially in, like, the amount of years that we've had where basically every soundtrack has kind of just been emulating that Hans Zimmer sound, to finally have one that sounded like a movie again, like it just sounded timeless. And it worked. That's the thing. It's a timeless movie, but it couldn't have been made until the year 2018 because of all the special effects and the CG. But it doesn't feel like a 2018 movie, and you can tell there's a distinct cinematography style between what they shot digitally versus what they shot in film practically. Like I said, I love the characters. Some of the stuff in the story still surprised me. Like with Simon Pegg and stuff like that. There were a little twist there. It was a bit of a mystery. It had me on a journey the entire time. And I love it. I've watched it, I think, only 3 times. But every time I watch it, I just have a big smile on my face.
Loving every minute of it.
It's just so good. And not enough people watched it. And a lot of people didn't care for it. But I did. I love it. And this happened to me last time. Anytime I think about my top picks, I just smile a lot. I just get happy. And like, but that's, again, that's what movies should do. I'll either get happy or I'll start crying, but again, it's not always crying in a bad way. But like, it pushed all the right buttons for me, and it might not do that for everybody, but it did for me. And that's what this is about, is my top pick.
That's right. It isn't saying like this is the best movie of 2018 period, but yeah, for you,
no, but
right?
it just
best movie for you. If
you're a fan of movies, if you're a fan of, well, even like these kind of stories and stuff like that, definitely check it out because it's worth it. And I thought the casting was on point too. There's nothing really negative that I can say about the movie, like at all. Like it wasn't too long, it wasn't too short. The sound mix wasn't off, the acting wasn't off. The story flowed, every piece fit together really well. Like yeah, that's basically it's I feel like I just basically said Ready Player One, and that's all I needed to say. That's my answer.
Ready Player One.
Why?
It's good.
Why?
It's good.
Because that's why. So
because Ready Player One.
Since I'm just rambling, I'll move to my second. My second. So this is where I need to kind of like, I'm gonna break this into 2 parts, kind of, because like, so there's Ready Player One, and then this is like, because this is a little more than an honorable mention, because this is like basically my number 2 pick, but by like a millimeter, and that is
not exactly equal, but just slightly under.
But it is, depending on the moment, and it is for different reasons, because it's the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah,
because that is one of the December of 2018. Yeah,
that feels December 2018. Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah,
so it just made the cutoff. Otherwise, it would have been talked about in the last video. But like, I didn't see it till 2019 because I saw it in January. But
right, that makes sense.
It is my 3rd favorite Spider-Man film, which I'll get into Spider-Man. I want to do a video on Spider-Man because I love how we're like, we'll get into things one day. Like everything we talk about, we're like, one day we'll make a video. We really are banking on the fact that we're going to keep making these videos.
We really are, but at least we know we have content.
Exactly. I did the math when we were talking, and you said 600. I think you said 600 videos or something like that. 600 episodes.
Yeah, 600 episodes.
That means if we went weekly still, we'd have to be making this podcast for 11 and a half years.
I'm sure we could do it.
So unless we up the ante and do more than 1 video a week, but I'm making no promises there.
Yeah, for now, 1 video a week.
Yeah, let's just until pay us. People pay us, and then that's the plug there. We take e-transfers and mail us some cash.
Just a shameless plug. Yeah. People pay us.
Oh, why? Because Ready Player One. Exactly. That's That's the reason. Anyway, back to Amazing.
The
Or
gun
back
over
to,
here, man.
I'm glad I could make you laugh and brighten your day.
Oh man.
So back to Spider-Verse, because
Right.
it's everything that one person could love about Spider-Man. It captured the tone of Spider-Man. It brought in so many new characters, introduced you to a bunch of new characters, had the heart, had Peter Parker, had Miles Morales. And the animation was amazing. The story was amazing. Spider-Ham was amazing.
Yeah, John Mulaney. Yeah,
he's my hero. He's just amazing.
Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah,
that was great.
Like, Penny Parker, can't forget her. But like overall, it was just a really well executed Spider-Man movie, and it was just I can't say enough positives about it, and there's no negatives that I can think about. Like I just want more, and I can't wait for the sequel, and it's gonna happen. We're gonna get it. I don't think until 2022 at the earliest.
I think they said 2022. I think they said 2022.
I think they might have pushed it back, but I don't know. And I'm good waiting. Like, honestly, take your time. Like, if you want to wait for 10 years and make this, like, cool. And the soundtrack, the music was amazing. And even, like, the music that was in it, like, I'm not too much into, like, rap and hip-hop and stuff like that, but it's a soundtrack that I bought and I actively listen to still. Like, I still play the music from it, because it's good. It's solid, good music. It's a solid movie, beginning to end. Got a lot of heart. Pulls up my heartstrings, makes me feel things.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was actually a very surprising movie.
Oh,
like
Spider-Gwen. We just glossed over Spider-Gwen. One of the major characters.
I don't know. I just assumed that was a given, right? Like, she is kind of one of the main three Spider people in that movie. So I thought maybe that was a given. I don't know. Maybe it was not.
I shouted out every Spider-Man.
2018 too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't expecting much from it.
No. Absolutely. Like, I was like, oh, animated Spider-Man movie? Okay. Like, because we've seen what Sony can do. Like, they've put out some really good Spider-Man movies. They put out some pretty bad Spider-Man movies. But I was so surprised what they did with this animated one. And I was like just the concept of it, like, and then to pull it off. And, like, just the world itself was great. The characters were great. Like you said, the animation was, like, right on point. It had all the heart Spider-Man needed. And the action as well. It's really good.
To me, it really points out that superhero films could totally be made in animation and released on the big screen. 100%. That is something in this day and age, you could totally do that. You could do a big budget animated Batman film and release it, and you'd probably make bank. You could do that with most of your heroes. Animation isn't dead. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse proved that. I mean, Disney and Pixar prove that on a regular basis too. But animated superhero films have an audience. Like, they
you just got to put the effort and quality into it, right? Like, a lot of them are released for, like, DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, right?
And you
like
can tell.
Video
you
releases.
Can 100% tell.
Yeah, because that's the amount of money and work goes into them, right? For that market. But if you actually put the money and work and the effort that you put into an actual live-action movie and put that into animation, man, yeah, you can make some really incredible content. Because a great story is a great story. Right? The mediums may change how we tell the story, but a great story is still a great story. And people, if it's told properly in the right way, people are still going to take it in. People are still going to love it. Like, Spider-Verse was a very unique animation style that I hadn't really seen before. But that didn't mean, like, oh, this is any less of a good Spider-Man movie than Spider-Man 2. Like, it was, like, I don't know if it's better or not. I haven't seen Spider-Man 2 for a while. I don't know how much it holds up. Like, it holds up in my mind.
List.
But I haven't seen that for a while.
I have a list. I have my top picks and stuff, but as I said, I want to save that for a different day because I have a whole thing about Spider-Man, and I have very controversial opinions, but I love Spider. Spidey's one of my favorites. Spidey is one of my favorites, and he always will be, and that's why I just love this movie. Like, I think the point to the main message of the story is that anyone can be Spider-Man is such an important message because that's at the core what he always was. Is he was literally meant to be one of the most relatable characters, and he always has been.
And he has been. Yeah, I was gonna say I think they succeeded on that front for sure.
And I think 100%. Honestly, yeah, it's anybody regardless of gender, race, anything like that. Anybody could be Spider-Man, and that's just what I've always loved about his character. Yeah. Peter Parker has never been just exclusive to one person, and it helped. Like, the big thing too that helps with that too is the costume design. because it covers his whole face. So you're never, like, literally anybody could be under that mask. Unlike some other superheroes where it's like, you know, you can still see their mouth, and it's like, oh, well, that can only be a certain amount of people. Like,
Yeah.
Batman has to have a strong jawline, otherwise, like,
Unless you're talking Batman Beyond, then it's a full mask.
yeah,
Then
and
it's a
I
full
can't
mask.
wait for them to adapt that. I'm down for that whenever. Just Warner
God,
Brothers,
it'd be
just
so good.
throw it at me, or, you know, come find me and I'll make it for you. Just give me lots of money.
Just I'll make it for you.
Yeah, I'll make it for you for a reasonable price. I can't promise it'll be great, but it'll be a movie. I can guarantee that much.
It will be 2 hours long.
I wouldn't even go that far. I can't guarantee that at all. Honorable mentions, because I probably should move on.
Picks,
I feel like I've gushed about Spider-Man and Ready Player One enough, because I just start smiling like an idiot. Mid 90s was a surprise one. I wasn't expecting to like. I wasn't expecting to see. It's a indie film by Jonah Hill, and
okay.
Just honestly, it's one of those things of. I simultaneously couldn't relate to the kids, but I could at the same. It was weird. It was a weird movie, but it was an enjoyable film. Jurassic World 2, I really liked. I know a lot of people didn't, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Again, it's dinosaurs eating people, and also it was really cool because it went from, like, the first Jurassic World was like, this is an action adventure movie, yeah, and then this one was like, hey, remember all those horror moments that were in Jurassic Park? Well, they're back, and there were some really effective moments of horror that I really liked in this. And I just had fun, and Chris Pratt's my boy, so I'll watch basically anything he's in and enjoy it, probably because I'm biased. And then Incredibles 2 came out, too, and I didn't see that one in theaters, and I'm kind of disappointed by that, but I watched it at home, and honestly, that is the best Incredibles sequel that I could have asked for. It was...
Another superhero animated movie, right?
And I'm glad they waited. I'm glad they didn't just rush into it, and I enjoyed it. And those are my honorable mentions. And overall, I think 2018 was a really solid year.
I would agree with that.
So what was
like
your?
I said, yeah, it was good.
To segue into the negative now. What was your least favorite
2018
movie, Matt?
was a great year, but there was
now
some
what
shit.
did you dislike?
Okay, so my worst movie of 2018. This one was a hard one for me because there were so many good movies that I did see in 2018 and I really enjoyed. But there definitely were like two duds that stood out. One I gave my main thing. The other one's an honorable mention. My first worst movie is Blockers. Have you seen this movie?
No, I didn't. I totally avoided that one.
Blockers. Oh my gosh, good call. It was not good. I barely remember this movie. I actually forgot it existed until I went and looked through movies from 2018 to like start putting to my list, and I was like, "Oh, this movie!" And then it all shot back in my head. I'm like, oh, it was not good. So, Blockers is the story of a group of parents trying to stop their teenage daughters from going through with their sex pact to lose their virginity on prom night. It's kind of like a American Pie concept. You know how they were like, we're all going to lose our virginity before the end of high school kind of thing. Yeah. Except it's the parents like finding out about the sex pact and like, we got to stop them. We can't let them lose their virginity on prom night. And it was just like the concept was all right enough, but like it's just the execution
was not great.
Really bad. Really bad. The parents were played by John Cena, Leslie Mann, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Ike Barinholtz. He's that guy from like, I don't know if you've watched the Mindy Project. You probably never. My wife watched the Mindy Project, so I'd like jump in for a couple episodes. But if you remember in Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn had that prison guard who's kind of like a funny guy, and the Joker like ties him up in that freezer or something like that.
Suicide Squad I suppress as well. I think that's
yeah.
when we get to whatever.
So,
trust me, whenever we get to that
like, DC stuff. He's not in like a lot of big movies and stuff. But he is actually a very funny guy. Like naturally, he's a very funny person. But John Cena was easily the weakest of the lead cast. Like he at that point for sure was not strong enough to run a lead in a movie. Ironic because he has so much muscle. You see what I did there. Leslie Mann was pretty good. I like her. She's an entertaining actress, so she just did her thing. And Ike Barinholtz, to me, was the funniest. Like I said, he's a natural funny guy. but the writing really didn't give him too much to work on. So everything with this movie fell apart really started at the writing of the film. The core concept was good, but the writing, it wasn't sharp. It wasn't witty. The kids had a couple moments, and the situations the adults got themselves into weren't really that funny, and the pacing was just sluggish. It was just like, I didn't check what the time of that movie was, like how long it ran for, but it felt like too long. You know what I mean? Like, this was 20 minutes or an hour too long than it needed to be. Yeah. It could have been a mini film. Like it could have been a short film or something. Because it was just, like, it just dragged. I know through, like, we saw it in theaters, and I was checking my watch. I was like, when is this movie over? Like, it was just painful. What was good in the rating flopped on execution, right? So the things that were good in the rating flopped on execution. John Cena had moments and jokes that would have been good if you had an actual good actor doing it, but ended up flopping because of the delivery or the comedic timing. Like, he just wasn't good at. Like, John Cena, he's a good, like, supporting character or, like, cameo character, but to actually, like, hold his own as a lead in a movie, for sure he wasn't ready. I don't know, like, he's in that new Fast and Furious movie that's going to be coming out, so I don't know what his level of acting is Bumblebee? Right now, but then it wasn't good. No, I didn't.
I haven't either.
How was he in that one? But I've heard... Oh, okay, I was going to ask.
No, I haven't, but I've heard it's good, and I've heard he's good in it, so I'm kind of curious to see maybe there was some growth between those movies. I'm not too sure.
And naturally there should be, right? Especially when you're, like, coming from wrestling and going into movies. Like, even The Rock, his first movies were not good either, right? Like, it takes time to grow and to build. We want to talk about
Scorpion King, or...
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. So, like, I get it. I'm not trying to bash on John Cena. No, acting isn't easy, but these guys, they take classes. They're professionals. They're getting paid a lot. And he just wasn't ready for the lead role yet. He may be now, but at the time, he definitely wasn't.
Well, and again, that could also come down, for all you know, it could be the direction, too. It could be whoever was behind the camera telling him what to do maybe didn't give him the right directions and stuff like that.
Part of it's the directing absolutely as well. But the actor still has to be able to hold their own on a basic level, right? Like, if I can't act worth a crap, you can direct me all you want, but if I can't act, it's not going to do anyone any good. Like, I'll do what you tell me, but the delivery, that unspoken stuff, like, it's just not going to be there, right?
Don't worry, Matt. I'll direct you one time and I'll beat the crap out of you, make you cry.
You're going to be like, you're the worst. Well, man, I've been acting over a decade. You cut me a break.
Yeah, that's no excuse. Neither have I, and I was okay in my own movie. I was an actor.
I was an actor for my own movie.
I said lines. I did blocking. I performed.
I looked around suddenly and confused at things. It was a good time. It was a good time.
I played Harvey McBlantoast, as my roommate likes to call him, really, really well.
Harvey McBlantoast.
I think his actual name for me was White Bread McBlantoast. Like, not for me, but for the character. It was like White Bread McBlantoast, and it's like, shut up! I did my best.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I guess I would just sum it up saying, like, overall, all a comedy really has to do is make you laugh, right? Like, I can forgive a comedy that has a terrible story, terrible character development, or bad costume design, whatever. Comedies get a break for a lot of things. As long as they can make you bust a gut, like, it'll generally work. But if a comedy doesn't make you laugh, it's about as bad as a movie can get. Like, if a comedy isn't making you laugh, and that's its one job, you had one job, man, one job to make me laugh, and you can't do it, then yeah, that's about the worst kind of movies I can think of. It's a dangerous genre.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's hard to be funny. It's hard to be funny like, we can all be funny in the moment and, like, have, like, quick, like, comebacks or something, like, ah! But to actually be planned out, funny, like, if you put me up and I did stand-up comedy, I would not be good at it. So it's tough, and it's a gamble, and if you hit it right, you can do great, but if you get it wrong, it's like, whew. Yeah, comedies can flop pretty hard.
Timing is so important with comedy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there are people who naturally have comedic timing, and there's a lot of people who think they do and they really don't. And it's
people who are even really funny, like, you got Kevin Hart. Like, that guy's hilarious. His stand-up is great. But sometimes even in movies, it's like I don't find him that funny because it's funny just isn't like unanimous. You know what I mean? Like it is about timing, witty writing. There's so many different elements that go into it, so it is really hard to actually do those movies. But
well, at the end of the day, stand-up is such a different type of comedy than
it is,
in a movie, because like both are kind of manufactured. But I mean, like, there's a difference between being it live and being comedic timing on a film and cutting it together comedically. Like it's there's so many different factors. It's just it's a hard genre. It's one I want to try and get into and I enjoy, but it's tricky, and modern comedy isn't quite. Even the masters, like, you know,
I'll talk about Will Ferrell like later on here at the end of the episode a bit, but even guys like him or like Eddie Murphy, even they have dud movies, right? Just don't
Nash anybody.
So it's tough. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. But yeah, anyway, that was my worst movie of 2018 was Blockers. It was terrible. Don't watch it unless you really want to, just to try it out. But it just, I don't know. Some people liked it like averagely, but no one loved it, and I for sure didn't like it really at all. Honorable mention, The Cloverfield Paradox that came out on Netflix. Very bad movie. This was actually a movie. It wasn't created for the Cloverfield universe. Like it literally, it's not, has nothing to do with Cloverfield. They literally just add a monster at the end. They're like, look, Cloverfield, and you're like,
everything that was filmed on Earth, I think, was added after the fact.
Yeah, like they literally took this movie that I'm pretty sure was already filmed, and they're like, we're just gonna make it Cloverfield now. When it came to Bad Robot, I think they got the rights to it or something. Yeah. There was some kind of business stuff in the background because it wasn't a Cloverfield movie. Then they turned it into one, but you can clearly tell it's just like jammed in there. And it wasn't even a good movie to start out with. So
well, the thing is, would you think if it wasn't a Cloverfield movie, if they took out all the stuff to do with Clover and all that stuff, would it have been not a bad sci-fi movie?
I still didn't think it was that good.
I enjoyed parts of it. I thought it was a cool concept, but it felt very much like an Event Horizon remake.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's an honorable mention, right? Like it wasn't the worst movie I'd seen in 2018, but it wasn't like the worst was Blockers, but it still wasn't good. Like I didn't really enjoy it, and I was like, this is kind of, it was just painful for me. It didn't work.
That's fair. I accept that.
But that's it. Yeah, that's my 2018 worst.
So,
what about you, bud?
I have controversial opinions for mine for the worst. Maybe not.
You're controversial with yourself or what?
In my household and with other people.
Okay.
Because there's a handful that just like, there's a handful of them that just didn't deliver what I thought they would or what I hope they would.
Right.
And so there's three that kind of like make the top of that list for me. No, the two main ones, and I'll get into the third one, because the two main ones were Mortal Engines and Halloween. Those are the two that really hurt me the most, I guess. Because like,
I did not see either of those two.
So like Mortal Engines, so I won't get into too much with spoilers and stuff like that, but Mortal Engines, you can tell it's one that should have been, like, they should have treated it like a trilogy, similar to how Lord of the Rings was, where it's like they actually, set out to make a series of movies,
all three,
and it's super rushed, it's super just kind of thrown together. Like it was at the core not a bad movie. The world building was cool and all that stuff, but it just happened so quickly that I really feel like, and I've never read the book, so I can't even compare it on that level. I just felt like you could tell that the studio backing wasn't there, that the support for this movie wasn't there. Like you could tell that there was a love for the source material from the filmmakers, but when it comes down to actually like how it was executed and stuff, you could just tell. It's kind of like, have you ever seen Jupiter Ascending, or it's that one with Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum, and it's like an alien movie? Or
I want to say yes, but I can't remember. Like I can't quite. Like, I feel like I've seen it, but I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't put money on it.
Honestly, that's kind of how this felt, though. Is like, I watched the movie. I watched it. And it just felt... But after I finished it, it just kind of felt like, okay, so that exists, and it was...
a thing.
Yeah, and like... honestly, even going through movies of 2018, I forgot that it came out until I looked through the list. And like I watched literally I watched this like about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, just when quarantine started.
Oh, okay.
And I forgot it existed. Like, that's not good.
So it was not good, yeah.
No, and like that's a bad sign. Now, on the flip side with that, then there's Halloween. And kind of felt the same thing, because to me, at the end of the day, it promised this big triumphant return, and arguably it's not a bad slasher movie, but there's just so much with the story that I felt they could have done to make it better, that would have made more sense, that could have had a bit more of a stronger message, that they really missed out on. And it fell flat for me. It just fell flat for me, and I felt like there could have been more development with the characters. Like, not even Michael Myers, because at the end of the day,
he's a crazy dude with a big ass knife, man.
He's the shape. He is just a force to be reckoned with. But then a lot of the characters around him were just kind of like, and like the acting was fine. Like Jamie Lee Curtis acted the crap out of it. She did great. She was amazing. Yeah. But
the rest,
it disappointed me. It just made me like, I left the theater and I was like, all right, that was all right. The soundtrack was amazing. John Carpenter came back and he did the soundtrack for it, and
oh, cool.
He rocked the crap out of that. He did the original one. He's the guy who actually made the original one. And so like, and he did the soundtrack for it, and he rocked the new soundtrack, and it was great. That was a good part about it. I liked that part. But when the soundtrack is the only thing you really come out of liking, there's probably a problem.
The overall movie probably isn't that great.
Otherwise, dishonorable mentions, I have Creed 2 and Venom. And I liked Creed a lot. I loved Creed. Like, Creed was
I really enjoyed the first Creed, yeah.
It was arguably one of the best Rocky movies to come out. It was just so good. It was its own thing. And then I felt like Creed 2 kind of didn't deliver that, and kind of, which is a shame, because I love Michael B. Jordan, I love Tessa Thompson, I love Sylvester Stallone. Like, it should have been good. I feel like the problem I had is it's too much trying to just be a resolution for Rocky 4, and I felt like it didn't really develop the characters any further. And like,
I haven't seen it yet. Like, it's on my list of like ones I want to watch for 2018.
I'd say check it out, but for me, and maybe you'll like it. Maybe it'll be amazing for you. And I know other people who really love it. I know other people who honestly, like, Halloween is a bone of contention in my house because my roommate loves it. I didn't care for it, so that's something we yell at each other about very much.
We debate about that a lot.
It's not even debating at this point. It's just like, no, you're wrong.
It's just yelling.
And then so Creed 2, and then I'm gonna finish off with another Spider-Man related title, but it's not really Spider-Man related. Venom. Venom came out that year, and
yeah, it definitely came out that year.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Venom. I got the movie that I expected to get, and that's why it's not my least favorite movie. But I wasn't expecting a lot, and that's why it's not one of my favorite movies. I expected a turd in the wind, and that's what we got.
Like a turd in the wind.
Look, Tom Hardy, he did good. The acting wasn't a problem with it. The story was okay.
So Tom Hardy's usually pretty solid.
It was just a bunch of meh. It was a bunch of, okay, that was a movie, and Eminem wrote a track for it, and I can't listen to that track without...
and cool.
And it makes me laugh. Have you heard the song Venom? If you watch the movie, you heard it in the...
Yeah, it's like at the end credits or whatever, right?
And anytime I hear the name Venom, I just get that chorus stuck in my head, but not in like a good way where it's like, yeah, that song. It's like...
You just like...
Venom, 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 Venom. Like, can we get sued for that if I'm singing that song?
It's maybe copyright strike. I don't know.
Like,
Venom. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't like as bad as I was maybe expecting it to be. But it definitely felt dated. Like, it felt like a comic book movie, but it was like Like it was made in the age before the MCU, right? Like 2005,
If
2000.
it came
like,
out in the 90s, if it came out
six,
in the 90s or the early 2000s,
early
I
2000s.
honestly
Yeah,
think
it would have been great. Yeah.
yeah, but it like especially with superhero movies are delivering so much more now, it just
Yeah.
kind of
That's what I mean.
it
It
fell
felt aged.
flat.
Yeah.
Well, and it's how do you tell a story about a villain where you make him the hero without setting up the struggle that he had before? Like they've just like this version of Venom is just I guess straight up a hero who just happens to kill people, and that's again like you kind of don't really touch on the struggles that Eddie Brock really had. Like
Yeah.
he had some, but he didn't have a lot. I had a hard time sympathizing with his character, and it was very predictable by the end of it. It was very
It was like a decent starting off point, right? Like where they take, like, depends how the sequel turns out is really going to depend how this worked as a franchise. Like, because if the sequel's just as bland or just as lacking, like, if it's not going to go anywhere, then.
Well, I
mean, it made a lot of money, so they're probably happy about that. But yeah,
but
the
problem
quality of the
for
movie
me
wasn't that great.
Well, that's the thing is the problem for me with that movie and even what the second one might be is it's just going to be so reliant on the fact that Venom and Carnage are super cool characters that everyone loves for no reason other than they're cool characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's going to be honestly what the problem is. I think that's going to be what holds this franchise back. I'm curious if they're ever going to incorporate Spider-Man into it. We'll see. But who knows? I'm not holding my breath with it, and I'm just kind of
I think Andy Serkis is helming the sequel, right?
Is he?
I believe he is.
I don't know.
I believe he helmed the sequel. And not to say that much, because like one of the movies in our next segment here, I'm talking about an Andy Serkis movie, so so maybe that doesn't say a whole lot, but I don't know. It'll be a different shift.
All the films I listed, honestly, I could go on about what they could have done differently. And again, as I said last time, that's kind of what makes a movie not great for me, is if I can list off things that they could have done differently, and I can be like, hey, this probably would have been a better option. And like if people, a big thing with that too is usually I'll have those conversations, and if people agree with me, then I'm like, hey, maybe I'm right. But if people disagree with me, except for in the case of Halloween,
except for Halloween,
if people disagree with me normally, then I can be like, okay, maybe I'm wrong and looking at it from a different point of view, or from a skewed point of view. But yeah, overall 2018 had, if I had to honestly say, even like the bad 2018 movies still weren't awful, they just weren't as good as I would like them to have been. Like they could have been a lot better. So those are my picks.
Fair enough.
Bonus question.
Andy Serkis is directing Venom 2, by the way.
Oh, cool. I'm cool with that. I'm
confirmed.
Down with him. He should direct more. But bonus question.
The baby is sad.
Uh-oh. Do you need to go hug your child?
Oh no, his mom's out there, and his grandma. I can hear his grandma out there too.
All right, so bonus question. It's a new thing.
New segment.
The bonus question: is there any movie that you would refuse to watch from 2018?
Yes, there's two. There's two movies. So I'm gonna blow through this pretty quick because we're rolling on our time here.
Hey, but it's more content for people to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't want to listen to us even more? Merry Christmas, you guys. Merry Christmas. We're so generous.
Happy holidays.
Anyway, so I don't know what you're calling, like what you kind of thought. Like, is this a bonus question? I thought this would be a fun news segment. I called mine. I'm not watching that.
Okay,
that's what I'm gonna call it. Like, that's cool. Okay, cool. I'm glad we could discuss this on the podcast. Like, yeah, we're just gonna talk about what we're calling this.
All right.
Okay. So
new segment.
I'm not watching
that.
I'm not watching that movies for 2018. Two movies. Number one, Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, and Holmes and Watson. These were two movies in 2018 that I am not watching. Number one, the trailers for both these movies looked just terrible. These were some of the worst trailers I've ever seen. Not even like in general, like not even just like in the year, but like in general. These were two of the worst trailers I've ever seen. Mowgli, I mean, we just had a CGI retelling of the Jungle Book. Like at that time, the Disney one had come out a couple years earlier. And I get this one's a darker story. It's not the Disney Sunshine or Rainbow stuff, But the CGI, if you watch the trailer, it just looked bad, which is weird because again, Andy Serkis, and we were talking about for Venom 2, he was putting this movie together. Like he was the director. He kind of got the money. He was putting this whole thing together. But the animations look
with that though. The one thing I'll say with CG in trailers, and I've caught myself with this a few times, never judge the CG in a movie by the trailer, because a lot of the times when the trailer's released,
the CGI isn't up to date. Yeah,
exactly.
I know.
Actually,
and
it's
I'm
really
not
cool
talking
because
about like
sometimes
a further trailer.
Sometimes the CG actually, they'll finish it to a point, release it in theaters, and then fix it more for the home release,
for the Blu-ray
like,
and stuff like that.
It's really weird and really cool, but at the same time, that's why I'm not a huge fan of CG. But no, that's fair. I can't remember the trailer for Mowgli. I can't for the life of me.
And this was like a trailer that was like, it was like, here's the trailer. It's releasing like in a couple days on Netflix kind of thing. Like it was really close to the release of the film. And it wasn't so much like, oh, the fur wasn't good or anything like that. It just like, it looked like pretty cheap, but there was something wrong with the faces. It was the faces of the animals that like, they almost looked like half human-y. Like it was like, because you had the Disney Jungle Book with Jon Favreau, right? Yeah. Like the animals looked like animals. Like that's what they look like. But in this one, there was something, I think especially with the wolves, there was just something weird about the faces of the animals. I was like, that freaks me out. I don't like that. So perhaps the story and performances were good. The reviews weren't great for that movie as well.
I want to say if I'm correct, I'm trying to remember this, and I could be wrong. I think that they were supposed to actually release Mowgli before the Jungle Book, and then Disney announced like after they're like, yeah, we're gonna make Andy Serkis is gonna make a Jungle Book movie, and then Disney's like, hey, we're making a Jungle Book movie too. And
I think it was the other way around. I think Disney said it first, because I think Mowgli got announced and Disney hadn't quite released Jungle Book yet. Like there was definitely some time in between. Because I remember being like, why are we getting another one? Not like looking into it at the time. But then then Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, like it was delayed multiple years, I think, by the time it actually came out. Like it was supposed to be really close to when the Jungle Book released. Like maybe a year difference, but then it ended up being like 2 and then on Netflix. Like it never released theatrically. Like it ended up going straight to Netflix. So that kind of tells you the quality right there, right? And what they were like really doing. But yeah, honestly, I'm not going to find out. Like I'm just not interested in watching this movie. Like
I'd like to tell you I'd find out for you, but genuinely no, I don't think
you
I'll
don't want to either. I mean, listen, I've been locked down for over a month and I'm not even a little tempted to watch this movie. That's how much I don't want to watch it. Like I just don't care. Now, in saying that, it wasn't the worst one. Holmes and Watson looked way worse. It looked way worse. And I was initially really excited when I first heard about another Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly team-up movie. Because the last two we got were Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. Like, those are great movies. Two of my favorite comedies. Hands down. Dude, what are you doing with your life? You gotta watch
watching good movies.
These are good movies, too. They're just really funny. I remember when Step Brothers came out was the same time as Tropic Thunder. So I think we would have been probably... So I'm guessing 2009, give or take? I can't remember because I was 18 and I know we were going to see Tropic... Yeah, I was 18. We were going to see Tropic Thunder, but it was rated R. And we tried to get Joey in, but he was still too young, so he couldn't actually... My good buddy Joey. So he couldn't actually get in to see it, so we're like, oh, damn it, Tropic Thunder's so funny. So then we ended up like, okay, we'll go see Step Brothers then, which was like a lower rating. But it was way funnier than Tropic Thunder, and like there was literally nuts on a ball sack. I was like, how is this not a higher rating right now? Like it was lower rated than Tropic Thunder.
Because Canadian rating systems are so weird.
I mean, I get it. No one blew up and there wasn't blood and chunks and stuff like Tropic Thunder. I get it. So I get why it was a lower rating, I guess, at the end of the day. But that movie was so funny. I loved Step Brothers. Talladega Nights was great, but I loved Step Brothers. So anyway, I was excited when I heard these two were making another movie. I was like, yes, we're in for some comedy gold. Then I saw the trailer and I was all like, no thanks. I'm out. Like, that's it for me. Not even remotely interested. Went from incredibly excited to no interest at all. I literally, we just talked about comedies, right? And I just talked about how important it is for comedy to make you laugh. Let me add something to it. It's even more important for the trailer for that comedy to make you laugh. Or you ain't even buying a ticket, son. And that's what happened with this movie. Like, if the trailer can't even make you laugh, you're like, okay, this isn't going to be good.
Should I go see it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if this can't even make me laugh within 2 minutes, then, like, should I waste 2 hours watching this? And the trailer for this movie is the farthest thing from funny I had ever seen from both of them. And immediately I was out. And when the movie did come out, the reviews confirmed what I had suspected, right? Like, it was not a good movie. It was trash. And, like, they had that joke in the trailer, I think, too, with, like, the selfie. But they had, like, the old style, like, cameras, right? And they, like, cracked the queen in the head and whatever. Like, that was the best joke they had. And I'm like,
well, this that's exactly it, though.
Still isn't funny.
Trailers are supposed to have the best moments of the film. Or maybe not the best, but some of the best.
But it's got to be up there, right? Because you got to pull people in.
If that's the peak of your movie,
what's underneath that? That's
like what are we getting ourselves into? Like, in all honesty, Will Ferrell for me is such a specific taste. I love John C. Reilly as an actor because honestly, anything that I've seen him in that hasn't been with Will Ferrell, he's very
varied.
He has so much range, and he just makes my heart happy. And Will Ferrell, I like him as a side character. I've never really connected with any of his movies that he's been the lead in, but him as the side character, like I think I mentioned Producers last week, he's in that, and he's amazing. He's so good, and like, I think it's because most of his shtick is yelling, and maybe that's funny to some people, but when it's an hour and a half of him just yelling about things and being confused, I get pretty tired pretty quickly. Because it's less about what's actually happening and more of him just being like, oh my gosh, what's going on? This thing? I can't believe this has happened. Let me describe exactly what's happening. And now you're doing this? And that's Will Ferrell. To me, at least. And I know people love him, and I'm not going to dog on anybody for liking him.
Yeah, I generally enjoy Will Ferrell movies. Like, he does have duds. Right?
And that's
like I said, like, it's hard to make a comedy. Yeah.
If you want to look into a Sherlock and Holmes movie that is a comedy that might make you laugh a bit more, it's an older movie, so maybe not. I don't know your comedy taste. But Gene Wilder did one called The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother.
Oh, okay.
And, like, honestly, I watched it a little while ago, and I'd recommend it. It's not the bee's knees and the best thing in the world, but it's a pretty solid comedy. It's a pretty solid take on it.
It's not bad. Yeah, like, I'm not specifically like inclined towards like Sherlock Holmes comedies. Like, generally,
I'm saying if you want to watch one that's probably going to be better than Holmes and Watson was.
Okay, yeah, anything's gonna be better than this movie. Like, it was not a good movie. Like, reviews just dumped on it. And it wasn't like, oh, some people really liked it. Like, no, nobody liked this movie. I mean, I'm sure there's some weirdo who likes it. There's always some weirdo out there who's like, I like it. But generally, nobody liked this movie. And I will not watch this movie. I will hold on to the other two team-up movies, Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. And I'm going to forget that this one even exists as a thing. So yeah, those are movies. I ain't watching that from 2018. I just want to make an extra point here, too. Because they did say, like, my judgment was based off trailers. And I just want to say, good trailers don't always mean good movies. And the reverse is also true. Bad trailers don't always mean bad movies. But sometimes a movie is so bad, they can't even hide it in a 2-minute trailer. At its core, it's rotten. And you know it in your gut when you watch it, that, like, this has nothing to offer. So when you have that feeling, skip it. But sometimes you'll get a bad trailer and not a great trailer, and the movie can be fantastic. It just depends how the marketing team goes about it, right?
John Wick was that for me. My roommate showed me the John Wick trailer, and I was like, this looks like the dumbest movie I've ever seen. Why would I want to watch a movie about a man killing people because of his dog? And then we went and saw the movie, And it was amazing. It was so good.
Exactly.
And there's
yeah.
now 3 of them that are all just really solid.
Exactly. So you can have great trailers to terrible movies, and you
And
can have
terrible
bad
trailers
trailers
to
to
great
good
movies.
movies. So you can't always judge it on trailers, but yeah, especially when it comes to comedy too. Like you'll feel it in your gut. Like there's some movies that are like just not right, and they're so off base that, and even in a 2-minute trailer, they can't hide that fact, right? Like they can't cover it up, because they have nothing to offer. And yeah, when you get that feeling in your gut, that's a good call to skip it, and at least wait for reviews, right? If you want to check it out afterwards, if you were wrong, it's a good call. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's just all I wanted to say about that. Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, Holmes and Watson, not watching it. I ain't watching that. 2018. Okay, your turn.
All right. My pick really, it hurts me. It hurts me a lot because conceptually, I love this idea. The people involved with it, I love the people who are involved with it, and it just, I don't ever want to watch it. And that is the Happy Time Murders. You know that movie? Do you remember seeing the trailer for that one?
Yeah, I've seen the trailer. I didn't
Yep.
watch it because like I thought
So,
like
like-
the idea itself was funny, but then it just went too
Because-
far, and I was like, maybe I
Yeah.
don't want to watch it.
It looks like a Muppet version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a classic movie. And the problem I have with this one is that they took it too far. They shouldn't have gone for that hard R. They should have just gone for PG-13. Melissa McCarthy still would have been great in that. I wouldn't have changed any of the casting. Maybe some of the story beats. Brian Henson directing it makes sense because he's Brian Henson.
Yeah,
Like, it should have worked. It should make sense. But it doesn't because for some reason there was this desire to make it a hard R. And that doesn't make any sense to me. It's one of those properties. Guess what? Maybe if you made it PG-13, you could have had guest cameos by the Muppets or by Sesame Street. Maybe you could have, but instead they went too far. And even like the jokes that they showed in the trailer, like not even like
Yeah.
the Red Band trailer, but just the regular trailer, really, they fell flat. And they just felt, the shock was like, ha ha ha, look at these puppets, they be swearing and stuff. And it's like, I don't need that. I don't need to see that with my Muppets and with puppets like that. I don't need that. Like it just,
it kind of
I
weirded me out, like especially like the Red Band trailer, like when they show
Right?
like all like the dirty stuff or like kind of the
Yeah!
sex things.
Like,
I'm like, why?
no!
Why are they puppets having sex? Like it just made me feel uncomfortable. Like it wasn't necessary. I
Right?
didn't find it overly funny. I felt a little like this is uncomfortable. It was kind of like that movie.
I was like, okay.
Oh, what's that? What's that one where like all like they're in that grocery store and all the vegetables and stuff come alive and it's like Seth
Sausage
Rogen.
Party.
Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
that where I thought it'd be funny, but then they took everything way too far and I was like, this just feels uncomfortable. And like I'm
you-
fine
like, the
with
thing
like
is-
sex jokes and stuff, but it's just like it was just like
Yeah.
it just like there's a certain once you go too far with it, it just becomes like this isn't even funny anymore. Like it's just
And you can tell,
not
like,
funny.
and you can tell, and when you can tell that, not to once again go back off of trailers, and I think that's the problem with this segment is like, a lot of our judgments are going to be based off of trailers, but like, the problem is
Or
even
reviews.
with, yeah, I'm pretty sure if we keep this segment up, there will be ones where it's like the reviews are great, but I don't want to watch it, like,
yeah.
but for this one too, it just fell. I also just realized I'm wearing a Muppet shirt, and that was also not intended in the slightest. I just saw a shirt, and I'm like, I want to wear this today. But like, it just
Nice.
it felt like I somehow coordinated myself. I don't know how, but it felt like it just felt not like a genuine execution of an idea that honestly I am on board for. You want to do a gritty cop story about Muppets? I'm on board for that. Roger Rabbit was a really well executed thing with that in cartoons. So why couldn't you do that with Muppets? Why couldn't you do that with those kind of puppets? And I mean, they illustrated why not, or maybe why they shouldn't do it that way, but like I feel like it was wasted potential for what it could have been. And again, like I think there's just this idea that, and it even comes down to superhero films for a bit there, especially around like Batman v Superman and Deadpool when they came out, where it's like, oh my goodness, all of our films for superheroes need to be rated R. That's what the people want. And it's like, no, not every superhero film needs to be rated R. Arguably, a lot of them don't need to be rated R. I could even make arguments that Deadpool does not need to be rated R, because guess what you can do with Deadpool if you made it PG-13? You have a lot of fun censoring him and having him acknowledge the censorships. There's an extra layer of storytelling there. So even with these guys, with the Muppets, yeah, there's no reason it needed to be rated R, because you can arguably get away with more. Like, what did they have to do to these poor puppets to get them an R rating? Was it just a bunch of swearing? Because, like, if it's just a bunch of swearing, that's not funny either. Like, if people... It's really interesting, because with comedy, you can kind of tell when people are genuinely laughing at what you said, or if people are swearing at the fact that you just added a random swear in there. Like, it just...
Right.
Like, you can tell, and that's kind of what I feel
when
like
they're doing it, like, naturally,
was.
or if it's just for the sake of doing
shock value, and, like...
Yeah. Because,
like, you can tell the difference between someone being like, ha ha ha, I'm laughing and my side is splitting open, versus, like, ha ha, I'm uncomfortable. Like,
that's how I felt watching that trailer.
It's like,
this is a little too far.
I am really glad my mom isn't here to watch this with me. Like, and again, especially for me growing up, Muppets were such a huge part of my life, and it was also tied to family stuff. Like, it was like, it's a Muppet film, I can take my family to go see this. And now it's like, it's a Muppet film, but it's not actually a Muppet film. But I can never take any family member to go see this movie, and it didn't appeal to me. It just didn't.
Right.
It did not tickle me in the right way, as it should have. It did not tickle me like Elmo. And,
how does Elmo tickle you?
I mean...
Strange.
Moving on.
I feel uncomfortable.
Hey, look, that was a reference to Tickle Me Elmo, and it was a good reference, and you can shut up, man. So, Matt, on to our next segment anyway. You can cut that if you want. I don't care.
No, I'll probably just keep it in there. Hilarious stuff.
Oh, just to embarrass me? Okay, I get it. I get it. You gotta make people know I'm not funny. That's the real goal here. It's like...
Hey, listen, man. When you're watching our podcast, you're getting 100% of all of us. No censoring required.
I mean, they're not really watching as much as listening, but... If you're staring at if you're staring at that animated screen of us for 2 minutes or for 2 hours long, you're getting all of us.
And if you're still listening right now, why?
We're sorry. We didn't mean to. So I guess
Moving
anyway,
on.
that's my pick, and so what's to wrap things up, Matt? Because it's about that time.
What's next?
What's your plans for the week?
This week, I would like to catch up on those 2018 movies. Like I said, there was a whole bunch of them that I was like, oh damn, I totally forgot the movie came out in 2018 and I want to watch it. And you just forget it, right? As time moves on, blah blah blah. So I was really excited, like, to find these little gems. First one is Green Book. That's the one with Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali. Right, where he's the piano player and Viggo Mortensen's kind of his bodyguard. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Yeah, like, it got fantastic reviews, and did it get Academy Award nominations? I don't think it won.
I thought it did, but I
think it has some nominations as well. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was number one on my list. I really wanted to watch that. Totally forgot it was a thing. Then I found it again. I was like, damn, I need to watch that. Ready Player One, because you keep talking about it. Haven't watched that movie.
What?
He's looking at me like I'm insane.
Why?
Well, no, that's why I had nothing to say about the movie. I was like, yeah. Well, you didn't spoil anything.
If I spoiled it.
You didn't say anything that was a spoiler, but I haven't seen Ready Player One, so I'm going to see that. Vice, Vice, I really want to see. That was another big one. Creed 2 was on my list, and then, like I said, Lord of the Rings is kind of my quarantine goal. So those are kind of like my four movies that I kind of want to watch this week, and hopefully I'll get those done and be able to give you some feedback next week.
I really want to watch Christopher Robin. That's the one from 2018 that I missed. I don't think I'll watch it this week, but it's I didn't see it. Also, to answer your question, Green Book actually won 3 Oscars.
Okay, yeah.
Best Picture of the Year, Best Performance by a Supporting Actor, and Best Original Screenplay. And then it was also
Okay.
nominated for 2 other ones too, editing and leading actor.
Yeah, I knew it was nominated. I just couldn't remember if they actually won anything.
Yep.
Because again,
3.
yeah,
They
like
won 3.
that was a long time ago. But yeah, no, cool, man. That's on my list. I definitely want to watch that.
Yeah. So then do it, man, and
I will.
we'll hear.
I will. And what was yours again? I was I was distracted.
Oh, I haven't said anything yet.
I thought you were saying something. I was like,
Nope.
sorry, am I being rude?
Well,
Because I can't remember you saying something.
The most I said is like for 2018 movies, I want to watch.
Oh yeah,
Robin.
Christopher
And
Robin. Yeah, yeah.
There's a few others too, but like honestly, for me right now, I'm just kind of, especially being locked down and so much, I'm really focusing on things that either are going to help me with my writing or help me with just staying sane. And I really think that the Carpenter Spielberg marathon is really helping with that. We've been watching Community as well, which is just a great show.
That's good, especially those early seasons. Ooh,
oh yeah,
good.
we just finished up season 1. I think we're starting season 2 now, and like it just like that's basically it. It's just kind of keep on with my marathons and just watching things that put a smile on my face and just make me happy. And that's, I think, especially in these days, that's the most important thing to do. Keep watching things you want to watching things that are gonna make you feel and stay sane. And that's
Yes, sir.
all you can ask for.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Is this
right.
it then? Is this
This is
the
it.
end?
This is
the
it.
end?
We
Goodness.
have finished our feast, and I am stuffed. I gotta say,
This
I'm
is-
stuffed. It was delicious.
We finished episode 2. This is another milestone. I mean, every one is gonna be a milestone now, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Where can they find you, Matt? Where can they find us?
They can find, us in general. We have the YouTube channel on Feast of Films. You should be able to actually Google it. Feast of Films, not Google it, but type it into YouTube and we should pop up right away. Doesn't seem to be a lot of competition in that area, which is nice. So we should be right up there. Feast of Films on YouTube. You can find us on Google Play, Anchor, a couple other ones that are weird. Spotify was the other one, yeah. Oh wait,
Yep.
did Google Play? Did we get that Google Play one figured out?
I don't think I did, but
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
We
I don't know.
got like confirmation that was on Google Play, but then it wasn't working. We couldn't find it, so whatever. I don't know. But definitely Anchor and Spotify are the 2 big ones, and YouTube.
A bunch of links to to other places to listen to it, as well as other things that we have going on, are all in the description below the video on YouTube. So definitely go and check it out there. Follow some links there.
YouTube channels.
There's a link to
Twitter.
my Instagram where I'll be posting things here and there about what I'm working on and sometimes about the podcast. So yeah, definitely check it out. And I think that's it. I think that's all.
That's pretty much it, buddy.
All right. So that has been a Feast of Films, episode 2. Thanks for listening. I'm Ethan R. Hill.
I'm Matt Black.
And and hopefully you enjoyed. We'll see you all next week.
See you guys later. Bye-bye.
So long.
Toodaloo.